indicated that it will oppose bail in the matter. The accused Sahpra Bakaranne will return to court next week Friday. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Newcastle.
And firefighters are battling a fast-moving blaze in an informal settlement on Quarry Road near Reservoir Hills, north of Durban. The fire has already destroyed scores of shacks, leaving dozens of residents displaced. Heavy smoke and emergency activity have caused severe congestion near the M19, with people spilling onto the roadway. Motorists urged to avoid the area. The KZN Human Settlements Department says teams have been deployed to assist those left homeless, with officials working closely with disaster management teams from the eThekwini municipality. Department spokesperson Dabezinhle Sibia says the fire is believed to have started in a rented shack.
Rented by a foreign national. Apparently, he was busy doing welding work there. The foreign national has since disappeared. The MEC has made a call to the residents to come forward with information, regarding, the whereabouts of this, foreign national who has since disappeared.
In your financials, gold is trading at $4,626.33 an ounce. The rand is 16.80 to the dollar, 22.70 to the pound, and 19.64 to the euro. Brent crude oil is $113.96 a barrel.
In the traffic, look out for faulty traffic lights in Lone Hill at Main and Low Hill, in Randburg at Main and Republic Road, as well as in Rand Park Ridge at the N1 North and Bayers Nodia Drive.
In your sport, Saudi Arabia to stop funding Live Golf at the end of the season. Victor Gyökeres extends impressive scoring feat in Arsenal's UEFA Champions League first leg semi-final draw with Atletico Madrid. And Mamelodi Sundowns return to the summit of the Midday Premiership standings.
Gauteng's cloudy with afternoon showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures peaked at highs of between 18 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: Tshwane's suspended director for the Assets Protection Security Unit, Jukudu Malachi, has admitted to signing off on an invoice worth about 400,000 rand without verifying whether work was actually done for it.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Very good afternoon, everyone. It's 8 minutes past 3 on Thursday, the 30th of April. I suppose we could call it Friday, given that for many people, tomorrow is a day off, but it is Thursday. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. As we move into flu season, the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, Sahpra, has raised concerns about some popular medications that get sold in significant numbers during this time. Details on that at 20 past 4. Some other stories we are covering: the Joberg Metro Center, pretty much abandoned, certainly not in use, has been the focus of a great deal of attention. One of the areas of concern is the state in which crucial documents and city plans are being stored and kept. Eunice Chamda is with the Joburg Crisis Alliance. He'll be joining us at 10 past 5 to engage with some of those issues brought into focus yet again after a video on this issue was made by the DA mayoral candidate Helen Ziller. The Madlanga Commission currently underway. As I look up, Justice Mboyiseli Madlanga is busy putting questions to yet another official from the Tshwane Metro Police Department. They haven't come out of this looking terribly good, have they, Tshwane Metro? We'll get more details on that shortly with Tabiso Goba. And back in March, this golf event in Joburg was jam-packed with South African lovers of the sport.
Was playing so well and putting beautifully through 3 rounds and couldn't buy one on Sunday. So he doesn't want to let too many opportunities like this slip by before he feels a little adrenaline. This one is downhill and a significant amount of break from the right.
Yeah, Live Golf South Africa 2025, a huge success. Can't wait for Live Golf South Africa 2027. That was a sentiment widely shared. Disappointing then that the entire future of Live Golf is in doubt following the withdrawal of Saudi government funding, which was the anchor behind this initiative. So what's gone wrong? More on that at 10 to 4 with analyst Ngobile Ndlovu. And one of the good things about a weekend, especially a longer than usual weekend, is that it gives you a chance to trawl your music collection and listen back to some of your favorites. Can't say that's one of my favorites. I don't think I even know what the name of the song is. But Jonathan Fairbairn will be anchoring our little trawl after 5:30 into electronic dance music, EDM, your favorite songs from the 1990s, please. I suspect, by the way, that as you come in with your songs, I'll recognize quite a lot of them. I may not be able to do the moves, but I didn't always remember what the names of the songs were. So I don't know if that means they are kind of less memorable and therefore less important, or that's just the nature of that kind of popular music. Anyway, EDM music, your favorites from the 1990s, please. On the markets, the JSE has bounced back and big today, up by 2,150 points, a gain of around 1.9% after, I think it's fair to say, a pretty miserable week. As has been the case for a while now, the state of gold and platinum stocks pretty decisive in deciding whether the market moves up or down. Very much up today. Resources index has gained 3.9%. Implats up 6.6%. Valterra up by 5.7%. Sibanye has gained 5%. Sibanye, of course, involved with gold as well. And the gold stocks having a brilliant day today as well, with the gold miner Pan African Resources up by 5%. Oil price still high, but at least down a bit. Down quite a bit, actually. $7.43. The loss today, weaker by 6.4%, but still expensive. A barrel of Brent crude currently trading at $108.87. Rand is significantly softer today. That's a little surprise given how well the market is doing. Trading at 16 Rand 79 against the dollar. A euro will cost you 19 Rand 64, 22 Rand 70 will get you a pound. Stephen Curtis joining us with all the market news at 4:25. You heard Tolakele Mganga a moment ago, in fact, talking about that Live Golf story. She's back at about 4:20. Khomotso Munyai looking out for all your traffic needs and news. She's joining us in about 3-4 minutes' time to just update you from the roads. And Zingisa Chirwa back at 3:30 with the very latest news headlines. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. We do our best to bring you as much news as we possibly can as soon as it happens. But you know what? There's stuff that you see, stuff you've heard about, things happening in your neighborhood where perhaps we've got the story but haven't got all of it, or we don't know anything about it at all. So please do send us a WhatsApp voice note or a text to 072 702 1702. Call in if you'd like to talk things through. Give us a bit more detail than you can fit into WhatsApp. That number is 011 883 0702. Looking forward to hearing from you. It's 13 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
So, big stories ahead. I've told you about some of them. I'll fill you in on what else we're going to be doing as the show unfolds. But I've never been very good at fixing things. Part of it, I think, has been to do with my fundamental understanding of what DIY stands for. I know it stands for do it yourself, but I thought that referred to the person who was asking me to fix things. So DIY. Do it yourself. It's got me into a couple of scrapes. It has meant that I'm pretty poor at actually getting things done. But I've found that the internet has made me way, way better at fixing things. I'm really delighted to report this. My confidence levels are up, and I may have to watch the video quite a lot of times, but eventually I tackle things. However, sometimes you look, as I did, at whether you can perhaps fix your own microwave. And maybe I concluded that wasn't a great idea. Here's a snippet.
Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to easily repair your microwave that is sparking. This can be pretty shocking when it first happens, and I'm just going to jump right into it and show you how to do this simple repair that's not even mentioned in your owner's manual, because a lot of the times microwave manufacturers don't want you to kind of know about this and do your own repair. But on every microwave, if you get inside and you look to the right behind all these inner workings or this, control panel, you'll see this it's kind of like almost an aluminum plate. This is called a wave guide, and behind that is a thing called a magnetron.
Yeah, I got as far as the magnetron, but I actually listened to a different clip where the guy said, now you got to be really, really careful. And when he said this could be lethal, I thought, okay, maybe not. I'm not going to tackle this one. But I'd like to know, seriously, I mean, has the internet made you actually better at fixing things? Because rather than saying, I have no idea where to start, often these things are incredibly well made. So I'm just wondering if you've got a story to tell on that. 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Rifue, fix it?
Good afternoon, John, and to the rest of the 702 family. I am definitely in agreement with you. The internet has fixed a lot of things in my life, from hacks to fixing things. Because I always go on your TikToks. How do you install a whatever? How do you paint this? I go for recipes. I go for almost everything and download the videos like you. I will watch that video over and over. But sometimes I do get a little frustrated because some of the explanations from these experts aren't very clear. So you kind of have to break something, fix it again, break something in. But definitely for the internet, bravo.
Yeah. Okay.
Bravo.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm definitely getting better at some stuff.
Yes.
Microwaves, I might give it a miss. Traffic in a moment. You're always good at fixing those jams, or at the very least identifying the problems, which is the best thing we can do since we don't own any tow trucks. But I mean, your fixing stuff around the house, what's your record?
Not me at all, actually. I think it takes a certain special curiosity. I think there has to be a certain level of curiosity for you to even go that far. I think I'm also a little bit too impatient. I don't think I'll have the time to be looking at a video while trying to fix something. No, John, no, I'm not the one. But I will say, Rifue actually looks like a fixer. She even walks like one. I can believe that you are.
Walk,
there's just
ma'am.
something about you that
that
says never.
No, I just paid you a compliment.
Miss Fix It.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'll take it.
No, you look like a fixer.
like to
actually,
You read a lot into walks though, because remember a couple of days ago you said you look busy by walking fast.
I do the traffic,
from my walk, do I look like I can fix things?
I don't know.
That's a no.
Will I still
That's
be
a
on
no.
the show if I'm honest?
You will be on the show. Honesty, we respect. Yeah, it's a no, I think.
I think so.
Okay, you'd be right.
You're a little too calm, that's why.
Too calm.
To be a fixer, no.
I don't know about that. 702 Drive, give us a call on that. The internet, has it made you better at fixing stuff around the house or on your bicycle or whatever it might be? Give us a thought. I personally think it's proved to be a massive asset. 18 minutes past 3. Let's get into those traffic reports. People leaving early with tomorrow a day off?
Indeed, they are, John. Thank you so much. We'll start in Edenvale, where traffic is heavily backed up on the R24 West. I suspect it is due to an accident, but please do confirm with me. This is as you make your way to the Kaluilis interchange. It is, as a result, also affecting traffic on the N12 West. There has been an accident as well on the N3 North. This is at the Geldenhuys interchange, and it is slowing down traffic. While over in Pretoria in Hermanstad, you can expect some delays on Eskamphahlela Drive between Moot Street and Vomhagen. It's about a 10-minute hold up. Look out for faulty traffic lights. This is in Randburg at Main and Republic, in Lone Hill at Main and Lone Hill, as well as in Midrand at the R55 and Maxwell. I'll have more updates in just a bit.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
When you reflect on what you have done up to this point, are you happy? Do you go, I've actually lived my dream and I've managed to be the actor I wanted to be? Or do you feel I've only scratched the surface?
Oh my goodness. I'm sure you can see that I'm getting emotional. That's a difficult question because one looks at one's work as a calling. And, the more you see what is happening there, yes, you can see what you've done, but you do feel that there's so much that you haven't done. So to answer your question, I really feel that I haven't done much.
Award-winning veteran actor Mutsabi Chelele.
Clement Manyatela.
9 to 12 on 702.
Want direct insight into Joberg Nuclear Power Station or wastewater management? Inlet Africa's site visits are for you. Engineers, register now for your free expo pass at inletafrica.com. That's Inlet Africa from 19 to 21 May at the Cape Town International Convention Centre.
The Bet Blast is on with Hollywood bets and bet games. Stand a chance to win your share of 1 million rand from the 1st to the 30th of April 2026. The fresh, funky games in the Bet Games portfolio will set your pulse racing while offering many chances for big wins. Bet 2 rand or more on slots, 10 rand or more on crash games, and 10 rand or more on live casino games to be in the running to reap rich rewards. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Hey besties, DJ Zinhle here. Did you know that when you buy any 4 Knorr soups, you could win your share of 500,000 rand? Just WhatsApp your till slip to 087 265 1280 and make it Knorr with Knorr. T's and C's apply.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Changan Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising really from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more. The Changan Uni S.
Changan. Driven to evolve.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
I presume the UAE leaving OPEC is proof of how some of these impacts are really going to be felt over the longer term. This is going to have an impact for a long, long time.
Yeah, Stephen, ironically, it's, the price is going through the roof at the moment, but this is good longer term for the oil price. When I say good, from the perspective of South Africa and the consumer.
Peter Armitage, Anchor Capital CEO.
The Money Show.
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Crutches, is brought to you by ABSA Corporate Investment Banking. Success in trade comes from systems that move with speed, connect markets seamlessly, and unlock growth that works across borders. That's why ABSA is a proud sponsor of Trade Tech Europe 2026. Engineered for how Africa trades. ABSA is a registered FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Let's focus our attention now on the Madlanga Commission at 22 minutes past 3 right here on 702 Drive. Giving evidence today and facing questions, Chukudu Malachi. He is the suspended director for the Asset Protection Security Unit at the Tshwane Metro. Tabiso Goba has been watching this closely for us and joins us now. Tabiso, a very good afternoon to you. Chukudu Malachi, very much the focus, paying of invoices that probably, in some people's view, shouldn't have been paid. He's been at the commission before, though. Why is he back?
Good afternoon, John. Chukudu Malachi is the director of the Asset Protection Unit. As you said, he testified earlier this month, I believe on the 9th of April at the Madlanga Commission. And he testified around this security tender that we've been speaking about. It's this tender that the municipality gives out to private security companies to guard some of its critical infrastructure. Now, this tender obviously has an ad hoc security basis where the municipality, on times of emergencies, it calls on security companies to work for them. And what has happened with this security tender is that the ad hoc security basis was sort of abused in such a sense that the municipality exceeded its budget a number of times. So now there was a sort of an inquisition in terms of who approved all of this ad hoc security work. And as we've talked about previously, John, is that a number of Tshwane municipality officials, they kept on passing the buck. Eventually the buck ended with Inspector Lebogang Phiri saying that he's the one who was responsible for signing off on these ad hoc security work without the requisite authority. Now, last week, Inspector Lebogang Phiri finally testified at the Madlanga Commission, and when he did, he brought receipts. And the receipts that he brought was an email 2 emails from Mr. Chukutu Malachi saying, where he explicitly says that I am giving you authority to deploy these security guards at these sites on an ad hoc basis. So that's part of the reason that he's come back, because when he testified, he said, I never delegated any authority to Inspector Lebogang Phiri. I never authorized of any ad hoc security services to be conducted. However, the emails that Mr. Lebogang Phiri brought to the Madlanga Commission last week actually show the opposite. So that's the main reason he's come back.
It's very interesting. And I mean, as they have an extended focus, Thabiso, and you've followed this closely, as listeners will know, on an entity like Tshwane Metro, broadly speaking, but very much on the Tshwane Metro Police Department as well. These things are probably going to happen more and more, where people have to come back because 2 answers can't both be correct. And the more information that the Commission uncovers, presumably the wriggle room for anybody who is trying to pass the buck is going to get smaller and smaller.
100%, because what's happening here, John, is that maybe people may have been in concert, with each other. Maybe they have been colluding, but with the arrests that are happening, people losing their jobs, and a lot of things that are happening, people eventually have to cover their own behinds, to put it in such a sense. And when that happens, Inspector Lebogang Phiri will bring out the receipts and say, actually, I didn't do this. It's, I got the instruction from him. And that is what has been happening at the Madlanga Commission, is that the more they uncover, the more they have to bring back some of those people who previously testified and say, we actually have new information. What you said here is not true, because we now have receipts that were brought to us by someone else. And obviously now that this prolongs the Madlanga Commission, but at the end of the day, it does get to a point where obviously they're trying to find the truth about what happens.
Yeah, and the answers become clearer and clearer as the opportunity to dissemble and create smoke around your role in a particular thing is reduced. Very interesting indeed. Thabiso Goba, following this over a long timeline, we'll have him back as more evidence emerges out of the Madlanga Commission. 26 minutes past 3.
Visit primemediaplus.com to enter 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi.
For Joberg, by Joberg, in Joberg.
Bamise bonke.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Yeah, do you have your diary handy? If not, if you have a scrap of paper or something else where you can make a note of the Sunday, 26th July of this year. That's when we are doing the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. We're going in and out of the center of Joburg. Fabulous routes. It's going to be a brilliant day, and we really, really are looking forward to meeting you there, walking together, and making this a special day, because this is one of the highlights of the 702 calendar. Now, as you heard in my introduction, we're partnering in this with the organization Jozi My Jozi. We've had them on the show before, talking about the work they do in inner city Johannesburg. And joining us now is Nyeleti Magadze, who is workstream lead for social and community development at Jozi My Jozi. Nyeleti, welcome. It's great to have you with us on the show. It's even nicer to know that we're going to be partners on the 26th of July, extending and deepening a relationship that we've had for quite a while. In terms of the Walk the Talk, there's going to be a specific focus on homelessness. Tell us why, but crucially, tell us what we might achieve, all of us, including our listeners, by walking together in regard to the plight of people who have nowhere to live. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Dr. John, and thank you so much for having me. And yes, it's such an exciting initiative that we have, and a great partnership with 702 and Jozi My Jozi. So the homeless cause that people will be working for the walk is around, this concept of making the invisible visible.
Right.
The Babizo Bonke concept is about Jozi is not just about the city of gold in terms of the mineral, but that the gold of Jozi is the people of Johannesburg. And the whole people who are experiencing homelessness are one of those that are either forgotten or vilified. And we want to shift the mindset around that. And the way we are approaching this is we're saying to people, we need to move from looking at how we engage with people who are experiencing hopelessness from a compassionate perspective to a responsible perspective. And if you want me to, I can explain to you what that means. What does that mean? That means that we need to find new ways of supporting people who are experiencing homelessness in a sense that their experience is is brief and non-recurring. And the way we can do that is to help them access resources that help them to get themselves out of homelessness. So it brings back their agency, but it also says these are the options and the paths, and depending on your story and why you are having these experiences, which path works best for you. And to do that, we've partnered with this incredible platform called Zlato, ZLTO, and if you don't know about it, you can Google it. And this is a platform that encourages behavior that is positive through giving people rewards as and when they achieve certain things. It started with two youngsters from Mitchell's Plain and Kylie Chow, who thought, we are here, we want to contribute to our community, we want people to volunteer and be rewarded for that. And that's the platform we're going to use to support this cause of homelessness for the Walk the Talk.
Well, we're going to be talking about all of this in a lot more detail. We'll get the guys from Zlato to come on and talk through their app and their initiative in a lot more detail. But just, and very briefly, if you can, Nyeleti, for people who kind of know what Jozi My Jozi does, but maybe don't have a full picture, what exactly is the organization trying to achieve in Joburg? Because this focus on homelessness is not your sole purpose. It's part of a bigger set of goals.
Yes, it is. And Jozi My Jozi is a movement, which means it is for everyone, where we're saying, how do we start engaging with everyone from private sector to individual to government to civil society to fix Johannesburg? And the way we fix it is through different things, from safety and security and the environment to social issues like homelessness to the taxi revitalization programs to using sports in partnership with Maharishi Institute to bring people together, to bring back tourism in the city, knowing that Jozi is a vibrant city from a tourism perspective, and also focusing on education. Johannesburg is an education hub. There's Maharishi, there's UJ, there's VETS, and therefore the focus on education is also a critical one. So those are the core main elements of what Jozi My Jozi is about. And we say we are a super connector. We're not the doer, but we work with those that are doing and we connect them with each other to have proper impact in the city.
Thanks so much, Nyeleti Magadze. You're going to be hearing from her, you're going to be hearing from us, and you're going to be hearing from other players in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. It's really a fantastic opportunity to return Walk the Talk to the city where it was first launched. There's a 5K route, there's an 8K route, there's a 15K route. Please go to primemediaplus.com, take a look at it, start thinking of which group of friends or workmates you want to be walking with. And as I say, 26th July, please put it in your diary. We are looking forward to meeting up with you. It's 27 minutes now to 4. This Eyewitness News is brought to you by ShopRite. Lower prices you can trust always. The very latest with Zingi Sachirwa. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Social Development Minister Sisisi Tolashe says reports of recent controversies involving her are part of a misinformation campaign spearheaded by the department's disgruntled former spokesperson, Lumka Olifant. Following her appearance in Parliament yesterday to present the annual performance plan of her department, it has today issued a statement saying the allegations against Tolashe are baseless and part of a broader effort to discredit her. In a leaked audio recording of a study group meeting of ANC MPs ahead of yesterday's parliamentary meeting, Tolashe can be heard saying she won't answer any questions that are not directly related to her ministerial responsibilities. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
As claims of impropriety mount against Minister Sisisi Tolashe, including that she redirected a donation of vehicles intended for the ANC Women's League to her family and may have used public funds to employ a nanny for her grandchildren, the Department of Social Development is hitting back. It says former spokesperson Lumka Olifant, who was dismissed last year, is making unsubstantiated claims against Tolashe. But Olifant says she's not fazed by the accusations and that Tolashe is trying to deflect several maladministration issues in her ministry, including irregular appointments.
I should be arrested like she should be arrested as we're talking now. Therefore, the minister must not please divert the questions that she needs to give to the president.
The department's acting communications head, Sandy Gotwana, says since assuming office, Tolashe has been taking decisive steps to clean up irregularities, enforce accountability and restore integrity within the department. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The TRC cases inquiry probing delays in the prosecution of apartheid crimes has heard that the National Prosecuting Authority was swayed from carrying out its constitutional and statutory duties. Testifying before the inquiry, Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza said his 2023 review of the NPA's work found that prosecutors failed to adequately pursue cases arising from the TRC, despite clear legal obligations to do so. Ntsebeza was appointed by former NPA head Shamila Batoy to assess how TRC matters were being handled by the NPA following years of inaction after the commission concluded its work. Dimakatso Leshuru has more.
Renowned activist and human rights lawyer Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza has told the inquiry chaired by Judge Sisi Gampepe that his review of the NPA's handling of the TRC cases was severely constrained. Ntsebeza says his mandate was limited only to the NPA, adding he did not have powers to subpoena witnesses, compel documents or conduct search and seizure operations. As a result, a full investigation into allegations of political interference could not be conducted. When she appeared before the inquiry previously, former NPA boss Shamila Batoy defended the NPA's efforts in dealing with cases during her tenure, saying she had done everything in her power to do right by the affected families. However, during his testimony, Ntsebeza says the failures undermine accountability for apartheid-era crimes. Dimakatso Leshuru, Eyewitness News.
And the Motor Industry Staff Association says increasing fuel costs should not be used as an excuse for mass retrenchments. The trade union is calling for the private sector to commit to a moratorium on retrenchments. MISA is disappointed about the exclusion of illuminating paraffin from the general fuel levy cut extended to June. It says millions of South Africans who rely on paraffin for lighting, cooking and heating face unbearable costs of fuel as winter approaches. Spokesperson Pagamile Hlubi Majola.
Protecting workers and households must be the cornerstone of South Africa's response to global instability. Rising fuel costs cannot be used as an excuse to shed jobs.
And in your weather, Gauteng is cloudy tomorrow, temperatures dropping to lows of between 11 and 12 degrees and highs of between 18 and 20.
In the traffic, if you're heading towards Bedford View, there's slow-moving traffic on the N3 South all the way to the Kalulis interchange. And in Midrand, traffic is sluggish on the N1 North between Allendale Road and New Road.
The top story in EWN, Social Development Minister Sisisi Tolashe says reports of recent controversies involving her are part of a misinformation campaign spearheaded by the department's disgruntled former spokesperson, Lumka Olifant.
In the news this week, fuel prices are rising yet again, but there is some relief for ShopRite shoppers. With ShopRite's bulk buying power, they're able to secure stock long before price increases, which means that they can keep their prices low for much longer. So you can save on deals like Weet-Bix 900 grams for a low R52.99 and Ricoffee 750 grams or 800 gram refill for only R129.99 each. Valid until Sunday 10 May. Lower prices you can trust always.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
So, everybody who loves this incredibly diverse place knows that Johannesburg is more than just a city. It's a vibrant beat that runs through our veins and an unmistakable rhythm connecting us all. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi to call on you to walk the inner city with us in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize Bonke. Now, it's all happening on Sunday, the 26th of July. Earlier, I said, please do put that in your diary because it's a fabulous walk and we are really looking forward to walking with you. We're all going to unite in the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of movers, shakers, operators, and change makers. This is your chance, by the way, to walk with purpose and be a part of something truly remarkable. There are all sorts of social good that we are hoping to generate from the walk. And of course, it's a wonderful day together and it's a chance for us to meet you, our 702 family, face to face. So if you've got a moment, go to primemediaplus.com and get yourself registered for the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with people, for our Jozi. More on primemediaplus.com.
Let's hear from Shemaine, owner of Vovotello Linwood, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
I wish we had switched sooner. Not only was it quick and easy, but also gave us more favorable premiums.
For restaurants, pharmacies, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The Audi Open House sales event is now on and you're invited. Come test drive a wide range of Audi models and stand a chance to win an exclusive Audi Formula One experience. Plus, enjoy limited time offers across the Audi range. The Audi Open House sales event is now on at Audi dealerships nationwide until 30 April. Book your test drive at audi.co.za. Terms and conditions apply.
EWN Sport.
702 Drive, it's 19 minutes to 4. Live Golf facing some profound changes. Tolakele Nganga has that story and plenty besides. Lots of football last night to look back on as well. Tolakele.
Thanks so much, John. And Saudi Arabia will withdraw its multi-billion-dollar backing of Live Golf at the end of the season, plunging the future of the series into further doubt. The breakaway tour has also announced a strategic evolution, including a newly established independent board in a bid to find replacement financial investors. The latest development comes amid reports that the Saudi Public Investment Fund's governor, Yasser Al-Rahman, will step down from Live's existing board. Switching to the Bedway Premiership, where the title pendulum has now swung in Mamelodi Sundowns' favour. This follows their 1-0 win over Polokwane City last night. They're 2 points clear of Orlando Pirates with 4 games left in the season. And Miguel Cardoso has discussed the importance of the 3 points, having drawn their previous 2 league games.
It was very important to win the match today so that you can look forward and still depend on us. Tough, very tough and very beautiful championship, of course. We need to focus on the next match. It will be again, for sure, a difficult match against the same opponent. The conditions are not the same because today, as you might understand, I think 3 years that Polokwane played a home match in this stadium. So there was a reason for sure for us to come here. And it's clear the pitch is 12 meters smaller on length, 6 on width. So it's obviously more difficult to penetrate.
Kaizer Chiefs' 7-game unbeaten run came to an end at the hands of Suwelele as they suffered a 2-0 defeat in Bloemfontein. Despite the loss, Amakosi remained third in the standings, 5 points clear of Amazulu, and with the advantage in the race to qualify for the CAF Confed Cup next season. For Cedric Kaze, he's denied suggestions that his team were complacent, having shown more hunger in their Soweto derby draw on Sunday.
I wouldn't say that it was a complacency, but we didn't have the mindset to get into this game from the first minute because we lost a lot of duels. We made a lot of technical mistakes that led to a lot of transitions where we didn't win our battles. And I don't want to find any excuse because there is no excuse about that because we have been talking about that in the last 2 days that we need to get our mind right going into this game.
Atletico Madrid and Arsenal traded penalties as they played out a 1-1 draw in their first leg UEFA Champions League semi-final. Arsenal fielded a weakened attack with Bukayo Saka and Abere Eze amongst the subs, while Kai Havertz didn't travel due to injury. After the encounter, Mikel Arteta heaped praise on Victor Gyökeres, who's now converted each of his last 27 penalties for club and country.
He had a very strong first half, especially we were more dominating. That the Warwick is going to put the situation he created the goal and the penalty, and he was ice cold to score it in the manner that he did. And then the second half changed a little bit, credit to them, but as well a lot of things that we need to do much better. And I think then we changed that. With the changes, I think the game changed as well, and we finished on top.
And Manchester United midfielder Kobbie Mainoo has signed a new 5-year contract until 2031. His long-term future at the club had been plunged into doubt under Ruben Amorim, who had restricted him to just one start in the Carabao Cup before his sacking in January. The academy graduate has since been restored to a central role under Michael Carrick and has earned an England recall thanks to his impressive performances. Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the very latest from out on the roads as the traffic, I think, peaks and builds a little bit earlier, given that tomorrow for most people, is a day off. But let's find out what it looks like. Kumotso Munyai, how busy?
Thank you, John. We'll start with those peak time delays as they start trickling in. Especially if you're going towards Bedford View, you can expect slow-moving traffic on the N3 South. This is from Vincent Shabalala Road right through to the Galulis interchange. In Edenvale, traffic remains heavily backed up on the R24 West. This is as you get closer to the Galulis interchange. Also impacting traffic on the N12 West. If you are in a little bit of a rush, maybe try using the R21 as an alternative. In Midrand, traffic is still slow moving on the N1 North between Allendale Road and New Road, and it is due to a stationary vehicle right in the middle lane. So if you can, please just drive carefully. Lastly, in Protea Glen, traffic is also starting to build up. This is on the N12 towards the R558. Likewise, if you come across any other traffic, please do send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 14 minutes to 4. Tholakele, we've been I've been talking about how I've definitely used the internet to get better at fixing things. Now, I haven't become a major DIY person. You won't hear the sound of sawing in my house as I put up shelves and build cabinets, but all kinds of things, that ordinarily I would sort of be scratching my head. I say, well, let me just see if there's a video about this. And there's a video about just about everything. And I'm wondering, has that included that, improved that kind of fix-it bone in your body, or maybe it was always there and strong?
I like watching people fix things, but
yes.
I will outsource that inconvenience in my life. I just don't have it in me, John. It's so much fun watching someone kind of say, oh, these are the tools that I'm buying, all of those things. Cute for them, the admin for me. Because I remember I once bought a bookshelf and I had to paint it myself.
Yes.
Once I was done, I said, never again.
So when you say you like watching people, do you mean in real life, if you round at a friend and they say, sorry, I'm just busy fixing the washing machine? Or do you like watching the videos?
Like watching the videos and like watching other people do it. Like the other day, one of my closest friends, she had to put up her coffee table and her TV stand. My cousin, as long as we gave him alcohol, he was willing to build the whole thing from scratch. He said, please help me. I said, no. I just don't enjoy that process.
So at what point do you give him the alcohol?
Every point.
Okay.
Every time you put down the screwdriver, we gave him the alcohol.
Okay. And he keeps it straight.
He just tells us, hire me for more jobs if that's how you guys are going to pay me.
Okay.
He's very happy with that.
Okay. Well, he's a better man at dealing with his alcohol than I am. 702 Drive. Give us a call on that on 011 883 0702. Now, there's something we're trying to get a bit more information on, and that is the announcement by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture that they'll be taking some musicians to the World Cup. We're hoping to get hold of the department just to find out what exactly is the purpose behind that, because it's attracting quite a lot of online criticism. It's not clear to me from what I've been able to read, but that doesn't mean that the information is not out there. Are they going there? Are they going to be doing performances of South African music? Have things been booked? I'm just keen to sort of better understand what's going on and whether this is part of a series of musical performances or not. We'll try and get more clarity on that, and then we'll throw it out for your views. I don't want make a comment on it without a kind of full sense myself of what all of this is about. But certainly the pushback from some people in social media is substantial. 11 minutes to 4.
John Perlman
on 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
So let's turn to a story that I highlighted earlier and Tola Kele was talking about a little while ago. I mean, it was really a big thing, not a sport that I follow or, spend money on going to watch particularly, but certainly when Live Golf came to South Africa last month in March, I think it was in the third week of March, people went there in their many thousands. As I understand, it was sold out. It was created enormous excitement, and people were saying, let's start. Can we book already for next year? Well, there may not be a next year, it would seem. There may not be a Live Golf next year. This after the major funders, the Public Investment Fund, the Public Investment Fund that's part of Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, have just said, look, we're not going to support this golf endeavor beyond the end of 2026. So what's this all about? Because the sense is that when the Saudis get behind something, certainly money is no object. I'm not suggesting necessarily that they just throw money into things, but the pot of money is vast and deep. Let's get some perspective then. Ngobile Ndlovu is founder of Cash and Sport Research and Advisory. Ngobile, welcome and thanks for joining us. I mean, before we get into the current problems, would I be right in saying that having Live Golf in South Africa really was huge for the sport on many levels? Golf development, investment in the sport, and obviously the hope that they would be here and come back.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, and I would also say it was also good for the exposure of the game beyond the key markets of the United States, Asia, and Europe.
Right.
Golf going to other places is also huge, and also huge for the growth of the game, because then you're showing other people that if you take it to other parts of the world, there is interest and people will come. So I think it was excellent for the sport of golf, but without the Saudi money, it's a different conversation.
Yeah. So what has gone wrong? I mean, I don't know enough about how the Saudis decide on sport. I mean, sometimes they invest in things, it would seem to me, with a long-term view. I mean, Liv has been around for a while, but this seems to me a fairly early departure.
So the whole strategy of the PIF and its investments into sport, not just golf, but the Saudi Pro League, boxing, MMA, and others, was primarily, people would say it's sports washing.
Right.
Industry.
Okay, just a problem with Ngobile's line. Ngobile, are we going to ask him to... No, we're not going to ask him to move around. We're going to get him back on a better line. 702 Drive, still to come on the show. We're going to be talking to Kaya Sithole about the Industrial Development Corporation, I beg your pardon, the Club Med deal, and some issues around the connectedness, the involvement of the wife of Reserve Bank Governor Lesicha Kganyago in this deal. It's an intricate issue, and Kaya Sithole, who we often have on the show, has written a very interesting piece on it. It's an issue that's starting to spark some debate. Kaya's perspective coming your way at 4:10.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Okay, Ngobile is back with us. Sorry, you were just talking about the perception that or the criticism some people level at Saudi Arabia that they use investment in sport and the warm feelings and positivity associated with sport to distract from the other questions that get asked about the country, in particular its human rights record. Please pick it up there.
Yes, sure. I was speaking to the fact that primarily it was sports washing to kind of change the image. But what they were also trying to do is try and find if there's other investment opportunities that they can get into with regards to increasing tourism in Saudi, et cetera, et cetera. Now, whether that worked or not, it certainly, I would say, worked in some instances. But what they've now decided is, we want to ensure, like the Norwegian kind of investment fund, that we can generate incomes and revenues that are reliable and consistent and not losing money on a consistent basis. They didn't want to try and play the we've got more money than you game to attract athletes. They're just tired of that, and it's losing too much money. And with Live Golf having been spending around $100 million a month and using about that much money per month, it just wasn't sustainable.
In terms then of, let's focus on the game of golf. I mean, there's no doubt Live was a disruptor. It caused significant fallout in the more established structures running the game. Can they look back on it and say, well, okay, 5 years we were significantly disruptive to the point that the game was forced to make some changes for the better? Or is this just kind of a pothole, you fix the tire and drive on?
I think it'll be more of a pothole. Live spent, or the Saudis spent $5 billion in Live Golf. They tried to do a merger with Live Golf. It didn't happen. They tried to do a merger with the PGA Tour, and it didn't happen. And at that point, you already knew that if they couldn't use their biggest leverage point, which is money, to then convince the rest of the golf world to go with them, then what else is going to happen? I foresee that players will go back to the PGA. And especially if they lose players like Bryson DeChambeau and others, I don't know how they'll survive.
I want to bring it back to South Africa with you, Nqobile. I mean, obviously, South Africa could say, let's say this thing folds and we don't get a Live event in 2027. People invest in events without any thought. I would think of this being a one-off. I mean, apart from a World Cup, which you only get once. But will there be some South Africans who say, hang on a bit, we invested in this as at the very least a medium-term prospect, and we might find ourselves stung a bit here, possibly out of pocket?
There will be brands who will be feeling the punch of this. I know for sure that they were looking at somewhere in the region of 200 million rand as sponsorships that they were shopping around for some brands, and some brands took that up. I'm not going to mention their names. You can just check the sponsorship list. But there will be brands who will definitely be feeling the punch of this because the contracts were 3 to 5 years. They were signed, the initial tranches of money happened, and they were looking at how do you leverage on it for the next 3 years. It's going to be a very painful conversation. Now, there is plans for Live Golf to try and continue on its own with independent investing and funding. I just don't see that. I don't know how it can happen at that scale because you just don't have the Saudi money, and that's the reason why the players were there.
I want to ask if there's a cautionary tale here, and you might want to add in the consideration of your answer, Nqobile. Remember, we had the E-Grand Prix down in Cape Town, and my understanding was that was going to be year one, but then there would be a return, and it seems like we're now off the schedule, and with no signs that I've seen. Are we perhaps, is there a cautionary tale here? Do we, as South Africans, need to scan fine print a little bit more closely?
It's difficult because there's also a geopolitical problem that we have outside of whether the events themselves are sustainable. To get onto these global calendars takes a lot of work, and with another cautionary tale for something else that's coming up is Formula One, for example.
Yes.
How do we know that after the first couple of years they'll decide, oh, well, this is better off staying in Europe and the West and take Africa off the map? It's been off the map for so many years. So, yeah, there is definitely a cautionary tale because it costs a lot of money to get involved.
Yes.
And if you're out of the game with 1 year done, it's a huge waste of money, and there's a huge. But you also at the same time have enormous benefit from these events in terms of the economic impact and so on. So I would probably say continue, but yes, be cautious and make sure that you're not overly invested, especially at government level.
Right.
If it's private money, then sure, go ahead with private money, but not at government level.
Thanks so much, Nqobile Ndlovu, joining us from Cash and Sport Research and Advisory. It's a consultancy that he set up. Always appreciate his comments and insights. 2 minutes to 4.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Mendy, you see this guy, he's very dangerous. If you ask directions from him, you are going to get lost. Because you're going to ask him where the church is. He will say, you go left, right? And when you turn left, you turn right, right? That be so centurion.
Oh, that's very funny, right? Right. South Africa, we have our own language.
Part of my responsibility, right, is to make sure that as and when invoices are submitted, right?
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's a home for dream creators, operators, and change makers. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Joburg CBD, and we want you to join us and be a part of something special. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babize bonke. More on primemediaplus.com.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash with just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Changan Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising really from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more. The Changan Uni S.
Changan. Driven to evolve.
This is EWN.
Tshwane official admits to 400,000 Rand unverified payout, and President Edgar Lungu's body moved to another morgue. Good afternoon, I'm Zingisa Chirwa. Tshwane's suspended director for the Asset Protection Security Unit, Chukudu Malachi, has admitted to signing off on an invoice worth about 400,000 Rand without verifying whether work was actually done for it. Malachi is currently testifying before the Madlanga Commission on allegations he facilitated the payouts of dubious invoices to implicated security company Gubis 85 Solutions. The Commission has heard testimony over how the company was awarded a lot of contractual work to a point where the Tshwane municipality exceeded its security budget. Tabiso Koba reports.
In June 2024, Gubis 85 Solutions filed an invoice for 397,000 Rand with the city of Tshwane for security work it had allegedly rendered. However, the municipality did not have a corresponding purchase order for this invoice. Despite that, in February 2025, Director for Tshwane's Assets Protection Security Unit, Chukudu Malachi, signed and approved the invoice.
There was no, wrongdoing on my part in signing this invoice.
But did you know for certain that those services had been rendered? When you were signing and approving this invoice, did you know that Gubis had rendered those services? Director Malachi, did you know or did you not know?
Let me say I did not know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Head of the Assets Protection Security Unit, Rivo Spies, has previously testified at the Madlanga Commission, saying that Malachi ignored an instruction from him to stop all ad hoc security work. The instruction came after Spies saw a large invoice bill from Gubis 85 Solutions. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
For live updates on the Commission, visit ewn.co.za or watch live proceedings on our YouTube channel. Build One South Africa says its fair pay bill that's been put out for public comment will outlaw salary discrimination and will ensure candidates are treated fairly. The proposed amendment legislation will make it illegal for employers to request payment history and compel them to disclose a salary range in all job advertisements. The party today announced that the bill, officially referred to as the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, has been gazetted following a year of legal and public consultation. Babalondense reports.
BOSA announced that the bill publishing on the Government Gazette on the eve of Workers' Day makes it even more relevant. The party's deputy leader, Nobuntu Hlazo Webster, says the bill was developed in partnership with the Pay Me Fairly organization and is a bold step towards building a transparent labor market. She says employers requesting the payment history of candidates is an unfair pay practice.
So employers will no longer be able to ask or rely on previous payslips when determining remuneration. And this ensures that job seekers are paid based on their skills, based on their qualifications, and on the value that they bring.
She says the bill has received support from Labour and some political parties.
But we have had substantive support from other political parties that we've engaged.
Hlazo Webster also encouraged South Africans to make their voices heard in the 30-day public participation process. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Police say they've deployed maximum resources in their manhunt for the suspects linked to the murder of a crime intelligence officer who has been shot and killed in KwaZulu-Natal. The officer and a colleague were ambushed in the Mount Edgecombe area north of Durban this afternoon. The driver of the vehicle died on the scene, while the other officer was airlifted to hospital with injuries sustained in the attack. Police spokesperson Athlinda Mate.
A manhunt has been launched for the suspects responsible for this heinous act. SAP's specialized units, including crime intelligence operatives, detectives, the organized crime unit, and highly trained police officers, are working around the clock to track down and apprehend those involved.
She says the acting police head has condemned the attack, vowing to nab the suspects.
The acting national commissioner, Lieutenant General Buleng Dimpani, has condemned the attack in the strongest possible terms, describing it as an attack on the authority of the state and those who risk their lives in the fight against crime.
And the body of former President Edgar Lungu will be moved to another mortuary following an order handed down in the Pretoria High Court today. The Zambian government approached the High Court to challenge an order that was handed down last week, ordering the former statesman's body be taken back to a mortuary of the family's choice. This was after the Zambian government collected the remains to begin repatriation, claiming that the family's appeal in the Supreme Court had lapsed. In August, the Pretoria High Court ordered that the former president's remains be repatriated to Zambia, but his family is challenging this at the appeals court. Khomotso Modise has more.
This morning, the Pretoria High Court was set to hear an application by the Zambian government which wanted the court to reconsider an order it handed down last week. The order was given during an urgent matter at 10 p.m. where the family of Edgar Lungu wanted his remains returned to their mortuary of choice after the government had taken them and planned to begin the repatriation process. But today, after meeting for hours, the government and the family reached an agreement. The family's lawyer, Thembeka Ngcukaitobi, read the proposed order to the court.
The body of the late President Edgar Lungu shall forthwith be placed in the care of AVBOP, Pretoria East, the cost of which shall be borne by the government of Zambia. The order in paragraph 2 above shall operate pending the finalization of the appeal under case number 1024/2025 in the Supreme Court of Appeal.
It's unclear when the appeal brought by the Lungu family will be heard in the Supreme Court. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Pretoria High Court.
In your financials, gold is trading at $4,626.33 an ounce. The rand is 16.80 to the dollar, 22.70 to the pound, and 19.64 to the euro. Brent crude oil is $113.96 a barrel.
In the traffic in Edenvale, the accident that was on the N12 West just before the Galulis interchange has been cleared, so you can expect traffic conditions to ease up there a little bit. And also, if you're headed towards Midrand, there's still that slow-moving traffic between Allendale Road and New Road.
Gauteng's cloudy tomorrow with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 11 degrees, peaking at 18. Pretoria 12 and 20. Vereeniging 11 and 20 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Tshwane suspended director for the Asset Protection Security Unit, Chukudu Malachi, has admitted to signing off on an invoice worth about 400,000 rand without verifying whether work was actually done for it.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 4. Great to have you with us. What have you got planned for yet another long weekend? Of course, this may have been a long holiday for you if you were able to cobble together 3 days of leave and use Monday, Freedom Day, and Workers' Day tomorrow, and give yourself really nice break. Whichever you've done, hope it's been worth it. I hope you've had a good time. Anything special you're doing over the May Day long weekend? Give us a call on 011 883 0702. Of course, we don't call it May Day anymore, Workers' Day. But you know the day I'm referring to. I'm referring to tomorrow. I mentioned to you, speaking of dates, 26 July, please put that in your diary for the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. We're going to be walking either 5Ks, 8 or 15 through the city of Joburg. A really interesting route that's been planned for all three of those distances. And another date to diarise, if you don't know already, local government elections will be held on the 4th of November. That always has quite a lot of implications for people, whether you're involved in politics or not. Schools get used as polling stations, so you may want to jot that down. You do not need a pencil. It has been confirmed. Coming up on the show over the next hour or so. In a moment, we're going to be talking to analyst Khaya Sithole. He's written a very interesting piece about questions that are starting to bubble up and cause something of a debate around the Club Med that's being built on the north coast of KZN. The work has almost been done, but it's the financing of the deal and, crucially, the BEE participation in that. The questions are being sent in the direction of the Industrial Development Corporation. They focus on the fact that one of the partners involves the wife of Reserve Bank Governor Lisicha Kganyago, Zibosiso Kganyago, part of something called Tinley Leisure Women Investments. Kaya's piece is very interesting and raises, I think, some quite subtle points about the concept of politically exposed people and what due diligence requires of anyone putting a deal together in regard to that idea of people with political connections. Should they be excluded from deals altogether, or does it merely raise the bar for a body like the Industrial Development Corporation to actually ask a set of different but equally important questions in regard to people like that? Very interesting. I'm not making probably complete sense about it. Never fear. Khaya is with us shortly to do that. Then we'll be talking to the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. This is in regard to some products, flu medicines. They are asking for people who have any reaction to these products to get in touch with Sahpra because they've got a little bit of research that they're doing themselves. As we're entering into flu season, we thought we'd get Tammy Gopal, Chief Regulatory Officer at Sahpra, just to clarify what the issues are, what they're looking at, and what steps they might contemplate going further down the line. That's at about 20 past 4. Right now, it's 12 minutes past 4.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi team, I hold the exclusive privilege of operating any tool in my house. If I don't know, there's always a guy on the internet who's willing to take me through it. DIY, destroy it yourself. More often than not, I actually do it fine.
Yeah, no, those internet videos, I like them very much. I often have to watch them. And by the way, sometimes I consult them on very simple things like, how do you get a battery out of a particular kind of electric bike? I was completely stymied trying to solve that problem, not for myself because I ride a regular bicycle, but for someone else. And it took me ages, even with the video, to figure it out. But anyway, now that I can do it, I can do it. Maybe I'll do a video of my own. How to get out the battery for idiots like me. 13 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by GWM, class-leading vehicles that help you navigate your journey. Let's get an update then from Khumotso Munyai. We were having some issues on the N3 South. I don't know exactly when. I don't know if they've persisted, but you're going to help.
Thank you, John. Well, considering that it is peak time delays right now, it still remains the same. You can expect slow-moving traffic on the N3 South from Vincent Shabalala Road through to the Kalulis interchange. What has changed, though, is on the N12 West, traffic seems to be easing up there due to an accident just before the Kalulis interchange that has been cleared. So maybe you can expect the traffic to just cool down there, as well as on the R24 West as well. In Midrand, if you're heading towards there, there. There's slow-moving traffic on the N1 North from the Butlu interchange all the way to New Road, while in Protea Lane, traffic is also slow-moving. This is on the N12 and towards the R558. Look out for 40 traffic lights in Melrose at the M1 North and Collet, in Randburg at Main and Republic Road, as well as in Kyalami at the R55 and Kenilworth. In the city of Tshwane, traffic lights are also out. This is in Garsfontein at the N1 in Garsfontein, as well as at Delphi Avenue and Solomon Mahlangu Drive. If you come across any other traffic on your side, please do send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Ever since fuel went up, you've had to endure a lot. Like helping your mom run errands while she tries to help you with your love life.
Hi, Bo. Kanti, when are you and Sfiso getting married? Pella, I want grandchildren.
Don't let the fuel hike put you under pressure. Get 5,000 Rand towards your fuel when you buy a Haval or P-Series this month. Visit gwm.co.za or your nearest dealer to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
16 minutes past 4. Now, let's actually focus on a story that I think is very, very interesting. Interesting in part because of the issue that it raises, but very interesting indeed because it doesn't jump to absolutely straightforward and clear-cut conclusions, suggesting that there are a lot of questions that need answering. What is at issue? Well, the Club Med deal that will see a Club Med, the very first in South Africa, on the north coast of KZN. It's in an area called Tinley. It's seen as a massive investment in South Africa, a boost for our tourism, an opportunity to create jobs, and an opportunity to bring local players into the deal and into the industry. However, questions are being asked about one component of this deal. It's called Tinley Leisure Women Investments. Two reasons for the questions being asked, and there may be more. One is that public money has been used through the Industrial Development Corporation, a stake of 130 million rand to enable this group to acquire a 14% BEE equity holding in this particular initiative, but also the fact that the wife of Reserve Bank Governor Lesicha Kganyago, Zibusiso Kganyago, is a key member of Tinley Leisure Women Investments. All of this raises bigger questions around the concept of politically exposed persons and how this should be regarded and treated in this kind of deal and indeed in any other deal, particularly where there's public money involved. Kaya Satole, independent analyst, has written a very detailed and thought-provoking piece on this on the Money website and joins us now. Kaya, very good afternoon to you. What I found interesting about this is you look at what could be simplistic conclusions, as you suggest, that's, you know, for example, anyone who is a politically exposed person or connected to one should then absolutely not be allowed to be involved in any deals at all. You're not saying that, but you are suggesting, if I've got you right, that an entity like the Industrial Development Corporation should be interrogating a decision like this much more closely. Set out your thoughts for us, and obviously if I've got them slightly wrong or completely so, you'll tell me. Good afternoon.
No, good afternoon. So actually what the article says is that in the context of the definition of politically exposed person, the definition is so wide-ranging. If we simply said it is a basis for excluding people from transactions or from participating in deals, there'd be many more people that would be excluded.
Yes.
And it wouldn't be limited to people who've actually worked in frontline high-risk jobs like the governor or a deputy general, for example. But what the definition seeks to do is that it acknowledges that, well, part of the reason it was developed is that those individuals didn't always take inducements or bribes in a direct capacity. They could always get associates and family members to sort of become their proxies. So the reason the definition is expanded to cover those is to actually make sure that if an institution like the IDC is transacting with a person within that network, it then applies enhanced due diligence simply because of the profile that those individuals have. So the proposition is that the definition itself cannot be a license for exclusion because many more innocent people will be excluded. But what it simply calls upon is that for institutions like the IDC, they need to be quite clearly about how they manage the risks associated with dealing with people who find themselves trapped in this definition, either because they are directly involved in high-risk jobs or they are simply associated with those who aren't. And in this case, the wife of the governor of the Reserve Bank is only trapped by the definition based on her proximity to the governor, not because of anything that she herself has done.
So, I mean, did the IDC do what they should have done, in your view?
Well, the point is that the IDC cannot pretend that it is not aware of these particular requirements, particularly if you look at the fact that the IDC, in the space it operates in, inevitably is going to stumble upon a lot of proposals or a lot of business requests that involve people that fall within this ambit. Whether you even look at their list of transactions, there's always been some element of somebody who has some extension to a PEP that seeks to do so. So the simple question is, what does the IDC do when people of this nature do indeed put deals on the table? Does it have those elevated instruments of scrutiny or due diligence that simply say that, look, we understand that this person is indeed related to a politically exposed person, and these are the additional safeguards that we're going to put through on a deal of this nature? Because if nothing else, the perception that those who are connected politically are at the front line of getting deals of this nature is problematic on its own. So the IDC shouldn't have to wait for you and I to discover that somebody may indeed have been a PEP that sought to get a deal done, but the IDC must have readily anticipated that the questions would arise and must be very clear about how it managed the risk.
I mean, the one thing that strikes me is if you take that definition of politically exposed persons and you give a list and you say, you know, it can apply retroactively, that somebody could be on that list even though they're no longer involved in government. I would get that if, for example, somebody is the CFO of the city of Cape Town, for the sake of argument, you could set restrictions or raise certain concerns if they were doing deals in the city of Cape Town. But maybe you could say, well, you know, in other areas of government, they're free and their family members are free to get involved. But if, for example, you're dealing with a national minister or a national competence like the Reserve Bank governor, I mean, that kind of puts basically everything off limits.
That's the point. The triangulation process that an institution like the IDC must do must exactly do that, because it should be able to say that as a matter of definition, this person is politically exposed. However, upon interrogation, that exposure was, if it was indeed an issue, was in relation to someone whose job or whose political profile is so completely divorced from what we're doing here. We do not think that this risk would materialize. And of course, the simple question is, could this person either directly or through their spouse or their proxy influence the type of decision that we are making as a financier or as a lender? And in instances where it's quite clear that the gap between what that person does, that political exposure, and the issue at hand or the transaction at hand is so wide, there's absolutely no way anyone can think that, for example, a Reserve Bank governor influences a decision that is made at the IDC. Then that is actually how you then say, we applied our minds, we understood that this person was politically exposed. However, in then interrogating whether indeed there was a risk, we found that the transaction was so completely detached from that political exposure, we were able to proceed. And that's precisely what the IDC is meant to be telling us at this point.
Thank you so much, Kaya Sithole. It's interesting stuff, but it does suggest that there's a complexity of questions that bodies like the IDC ought to be asking. 4:23.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Now, the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, Sahpra, as many of you I'm sure have heard us call them, has urged consumers to report any adverse events caused by certain cold and flu products. They're looking at products that contain something called phenylephrine. And they want to understand better. This prompted, I think, from an announcement by the American Food and Drug Administration that it was considering phasing phenylephrine out of oral cold and flu products. Now, we use quite a number of these. So what exactly is Sahpra trying to tell us? Let's get clarity and welcome to the show Tammy Gopal, I beg your pardon, who's Chief Regulatory Officer at the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. Ms. Gopal, welcome and thanks very much for your time. Why are you reaching out to consumers? What are your concerns in this regard? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John, and thank you for inviting Sahpra today. I just want to set the record straight on the adverse events for phenylephrine. The statements by Sahpra must not be taken out of context. The public is always welcome to contact Sahpra on any product on an adverse event. It's our mandate, it's our obligation. That's standard. But when it comes to phenylephrine, right, it's a nasal decongestant found in cold and flu medicines. So this discussion refers only to oral forms, not nasal sprays and eye drops. Most important, when it comes to the safety and the quality, that is not under question at the moment. It is the efficacy. So what the FDA had found is that the oral phenylephrine is not effective as a nasal decongestant. So it is only this that we are discussing, the efficacy of phenylephrine in cold and flu medicine.
So, I'm looking at a quote in a Business Day article attributed to you. That's, well, let me read the quote and you tell me if it's accurate. And then I would suggest that it would be fair to conclude that you were a little bit more concerned than you've just expressed now. But the quote, this is in Tamar Khan's piece, this call is specifically for phenylephrine for anything untoward or negative that could be directly caused by the treatment. Maybe you can clarify that because that seems to be different to looking merely at efficacy.
Yes, it is different. That's what I'm saying. The quote has been taken out of context. When Sahpra asks the public on adverse events, it's on any product. We do it, it's on a daily basis. This is normal functioning of Sahpra as a regulator. If the question is, what does the public do? At the moment, there's nothing for the public to do. The Sahpra has not taken a decision on these products, so they remain on the shelf. They remain to be used, and we are engaging with the industry. If, however, there is anything untoward, that's how you define an adverse event, then the public contacts Sahpra. It's normal process. Hence, I'm saying the statements must not be taken out of context and unnecessarily cause panic in the public. What's on the table is the efficacy. So we need to understand, is the product efficacious for a nasal decongestant? And this is where the engagement has been quite extensive with the industry for the last 18 months or so. But
there's a number of products on the list. I'll mention them because I think it's important that people know what you're looking at. Carenza C, Flutex, Demazin. I wouldn't know, to be honest, how to comment with any kind of clarity or validity on efficacy, because I can take something and I can say, well, it does, I'm not getting better, but that could be due to probably 5 variables: the severity of the virus or bacteria I'm dealing with, the fact that I continue doing 10 kilometers running a day when I probably shouldn't. Diet comes into how would public's perception of efficacy be of any particular value given how imprecise it's likely to be?
Let me clarify 2 things. Firstly, you read out products in the article. These products were not provided by Sahpra. And some of these products may have an umbrella name like Demazin, and there's an entire range which may or may not contain phenylephrine. So as Sahpra, the first thing a patient does is you look on the label of the product and it contains phenylephrine. The second point I want to clarify, if there's anything that the public is concerned about, you contact us. But the efficacy data comes now when the clinical trials need to be conducted by the applicants. Those are the manufacturers of the product. So the manufacturers, and that's where we're engaging because it is quite extensive. So applicants who want to keep their products on the market, and this is where we are discussing, most likely will have to do an efficacy study, which is a mini clinical trial, to prove to Sahpra that there is decongestant effect in a patient that take these multi-component products, because there's more than one component in your cold and flu. The second proposal is applicants may reformulate. But these discussions, we are still deliberating as Sahpra, and within May we hope to issue out communication to the industry to guide how they can proceed with the products on the market.
Thanks so much. Tammy Gopal, clarifying all sorts of things, Chief Regulatory Officer at Sahpra, the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. 29 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Oh, that every day Stephen Curtis could be like today. Way, way better.
Yeah, John. I don't. I mean, The Economist has a cover story this week basically saying oil at $125 will be cheap. Which,
oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
okay.
No, they're expecting Armageddon. I mean, that's partly their job, but I think, So, yes, oil really coming off your last night's high. So, went past $120 last night, slipping back quite dramatically today, and that's sort of really pleasing markets. And in the US, people not really paying much attention to the oil price. Slightly oddly, they're paying attention elsewhere, and they're really looking at what's happening with AI stocks at the moment. But the result, of course, of a much lower oil price today is that it pushes some of the prices for gold and platinum up, and that is good for us, and that's helped the JSE to move quite strongly. So the JSE is up 1.27%, 115,317 points. Financials up 0.61%, industrials up 0.81%, resources up 2.4% on the day. Implats up 4.7%, Exara up 4.5%, Sirius up 4.11%, and then Harmony up 4%, and Valterra up 3.61%. Some of the others doing quite nicely as well. South 32, they're down 2.62% on the day, while Optasia is down 1.73%, and some of the consumer shares are down. We Buy Cars down 1.2%, Truworths is down 1% as well on the day. Glencore reporting it's increased copper production by 19% in the 3 months to the end of March, mainly because of the ban on cobalt, C-O-B-A-L-T. I think that's cobalt, from exports from the DRC. Cobalt production was down nearly 40% in the period. They say higher coal and energy prices should help it increase margins. Also confident they'll be able to weather the storms caused by higher diesel and petrol prices. MTN saying their operations in Nigeria have seen data usage up by 50% in just the first quarter of the year, John. I mean, clearly someone's released a very good movie. I don't know what it is, but that's huge. Their profits up 166% in Nigeria. In the US, strong earnings during this earnings season. Bear in mind, they look back, even though there are still fears about what's happening with oil prices. The Dow Jones up 0.82%, the Nasdaq down 0.22%, the S&P 500 up 0.07% on the day so far. Looking, of course, at some of the other prices that we've seen today, and we do see that, and one of the things that we've seen that's been really interesting is how quickly Brent crude seems to have come back to really around $105 or so. The rand to the dollar, 16.74 to the euro, 19.57 to the British pound. At the moment, we're looking at we're at $22.68. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. At 27 minutes to 5 now, let's get the very latest Eyewitness news. Zingisa, good afternoon again.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Build One South Africa says its fair pay bill that's been put out for public comment will outlaw salary discrimination and will ensure candidates are treated fairly. The proposed amendment legislation will make it illegal for employers to request payment history and compel them to disclose the salary range in all job advertisements. The party today announced the bill, officially referred to as the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, has been gazetted following a year of legal and public consultation. Babalondenze reports.
Bossa announced that the bill's publishing on the Government Gazette on the eve of Workers' Day makes it even more relevant. The party's deputy leader, Nobuntu Hlazo Webster, says the bill was developed in partnership with the Pay Me Fairly organization and is a bold step towards building a transparent labor market. She says employers requesting the payment history of candidates is an unfair pay practice.
So employers will no longer be able to ask or rely on previous payslips when determining remuneration. And this ensures that job seekers are paid based on their skills, based on their qualifications, and on the value that they bring.
She says the bill has received support from Labour and some political parties.
But we have had substantive support from other political parties that we've engaged.
Hlazo Webster also encouraged South Africans to make their voices heard in the 30-day public participation process. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The TRC cases inquiry probing delays in the prosecution of apartheid-era crimes has heard that the National Prosecuting Authority was swayed from carrying out its constitutional and statutory duties. Testifying before the inquiry, Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza says his 2023 review of the MPA's work found that prosecutors failed to adequately pursue cases arising from the TRC despite clear legal obligations to do so. Ntsebeza was appointed by former MPA head Shamila Batoy to assess how TRC matters were being handled by the MPA following years of inaction after the Commission concluded its work. Demakatso Leshuru has more.
Renowned activist and human rights lawyer Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza has told the inquiry chaired by Judge Sisi Gampepe that his review of the NPA's handling of the TRC cases was severely constrained. Ntsebeza says his mandate was limited only to the NPA, adding he did not have powers to subpoena witnesses, compel documents, or conduct search and seizure operations. As a result, a full investigation into allegations of political interference could not be conducted. When she appeared before the inquiry previously, former NPA boss Shamila Batoy defended the NPA's efforts in dealing with cases during her tenure, saying she had done everything in her power to do right by the affected families. However, during his testimony, Ntsebeza says the failures undermine accountability for apartheid-era crimes. Dimakatso Leshuru, Eyewitness News.
Police say they've deployed maximum resources in their manhunt for the suspects linked to the murder of a crime intelligence officer who was shot and killed in KwaZulu-Natal. The officer and a colleague were ambushed in the Mount Edgecombe area north of Durban this afternoon. The driver of the vehicle died on the scene while the other officer was airlifted to hospital with injuries sustained in the attack. Police spokesperson Athlinda Mate.
A manhunt has been launched for the suspects responsible for this heinous act. SAP's specialized units, including crime intelligence operatives, detectives, the organized crime unit, and highly trained police officers, are working around the clock to track down and apprehend those involved.
She says the acting police head has condemned the attack, vowing to nab the suspects.
The acting national commissioner, Lieutenant General Buleng Dimpane, has condemned the attack in the strongest possible terms, describing it as an attack on the authority of the state and those who risk their lives in the fight against crime.
And in the UK, London Mayor Sadiq Khan says a new police investigative unit will be introduced to handle hate crime investigations. This follows a string of attacks targeting Jewish people. Just yesterday, a man with a knife was seen running down the street attempting to stab Jewish people in Golders Green. The knifeman was arrested shortly after the incident. Khan says he met with Police Commissioner Mark Rowley to outline plans for a new policing approach to counter extremism in London. Khan has also urged Londoners to remain on guard against those who are trying to exploit these attacks. In your weather, Gauteng is cloudy tomorrow, temperatures dropping to lows of between 11 and 12 degrees and peaking at highs of between 18 and 20.
In the traffic, if you're leaving Sandton, there's slow-moving traffic. This is along Greyston Drive as you approach the M1 South. And also you can brace yourself for those peak time delays on the N3 South from the Batlu interchange all the way to the Galulis interchange.
The top story in EWN, Build One South Africa says its fair pay bill that's been put out for public comment will outlaw salary discrimination and will ensure candidates are treated fairly.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
When you reflect on what you have done up to this point, are you happy? Do you go, I've actually lived my dream and I've managed to be the actor I wanted to be? Or do you feel I've only scratched the surface?
Oh my goodness. I'm sure you can see that I'm getting emotional. That's a difficult question because one looks at one's work as a calling. And, you know, the more you see what is happening there, yes, you can see what you've done, but you do feel that there's so much that you haven't done. So to answer your question, I really feel that I haven't done much.
Award-winning veteran actor Mutsabi Chelele.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Hi, this is Michael Owen, Hollywood Bets brand ambassador. Being a champion, I know the best performances come from making the right decisions on and off the pitch. Enjoy the game, enjoy the excitement, but play responsibly. Gambling responsibly is about staying in control so you can enjoy it your way. If you or someone you know needs support, help is always available. Call the South African Responsible Gambling Toll-Free Counselling Line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Illegal water connections have serious consequences for the city's water supply. When pipelines are tampered with, it damages infrastructure, reduces system pressure, and can leave entire communities without water. Johannesburg Water continues to remove illegal connections and strengthen monitoring across the network to protect supply. Residents are encouraged to report illegal connections or suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg on 0800 002 587. Protect our water infrastructure. Protect our water supply. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Sometimes all it takes to reshape the world and deliver better outcomes is a little unconventional thinking. Black Sheep Thinking, powered by Camissa Asset Management.
Today's story comes from the world of shipping. Years ago, shipping goods from countries around the world was a slow, labor-intensive exercise, and it was very, very expensive. Each port handled the cargo very, very differently. And it took one man, Malcolm McLean, to standardize shipping through the shipping container.
Black Sheep Thinking, every Tuesday on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, powered by Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP on 702. EWN Sport.
Sport once again with Tolakele Mganga from one big match involving Chiefs to another. Tickets on sale for the Sundowns match, I believe.
Absolutely, John. And that game takes place next week in the Betway Premiership. The Brazilians will go into the Wednesday encounter top of the standings, having beaten Polokwane City 1-0 last night, and could further widen the gap with a victory over the same opponents on Sunday. As for yesterday's clash at the Seshego Stadium, Miguel Cardoso has defended Lebu Mutiba. That's after a failed Peneka in their win over Rise and Shine.
Didn't really understood what happened. It seems that Lebo tried to, I think the goalkeeper was on the other side, so he tried to play on that side. Lebo is a very good penalty shooter. If he didn't make the goal today, it was not because he didn't want, just because he could not. It's what it is. It's what it is. Teams get up in the moments that there's one that doesn't do something and go for that. We don't relate with the mistakes. We look, analyze them. We relate with the possibility to make better in the next one.
For Cedric Kaze, he's called for an immediate response from Kaizer Chiefs when they take on the log leaders at Loftus Stadium. That comes after the Glamour Boys' 7-game unbeaten run came to an end, having lost 2-0 to Suwelele.
It's a disappointment for everyone. We hope that everyone is going to take the next game as an opportunity to rise up, to show that that this club deserves to be on top where it belongs.
Mikel Arteta has praised his Arsenal players for coping with the intensity inside the Metropolitano Stadium following their 1-1 draw with Atletico Madrid. That's in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League semi-final. The two teams traded penalties as it finished all square, and Arteta believes it's all to play for in next week's second leg.
I'm very proud. I said that to the boys. The way we handle any kind of context for 9.5 months is just remarkable. And I really value what they've done because I've seen some of the best teams in the world here fall apart on seed 3 and 4. We didn't get the result that we wanted. And the way we planned the game, we wanted to win it. But at least it's in our hands, in front of our people, to be in that final. And in a week's time, we're going to have the opportunity to do so.
Chelsea winger Michaela Modric has lodged an appeal with the Court of Arbitration for Sport against a 4-year drugs ban imposed by the English Football Association. The Ukraine international has been sidelined for nearly 18 months after an adverse finding in a routine urine test led to a provisional suspension back in December 2024. He was subsequently handed the maximum 4-year ban by the FA, who never disclosed details of the case. And with the appeal, the player is hopeful he can return to action as early as next season. And switching to cricket, where Faf du Plessis, Jonty Rhodes and Heinrich Klaassen have now formed a consortium to acquire the Rotterdam franchise in a European T20 league. Du Plessis will also lead the side in the inaugural season of the 6-team European T20 Premier League, which is set to run from August 26 until September 20. That's across 6 European cities. Steve Vaughan, Glenn Maxwell, Nathan McCullum and Chris Gale are among the other co-owners in the T20 league. Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
702 Drive at 4:45. Let's get the very latest from out on the roads. Busy N3 South. That was a problem earlier. Generally just jamming up a little.
Thank you, John. If you are leaving Sandton, there is some traffic pressure building up on Grayston Drive and Catherine Street. This is as you head towards the M1. In Calvin, you can still expect slow-moving traffic on the N3 South. This is as you head towards the Kalulis interchange. While in Edenvale, traffic is slow on the N12 West, approaching the Kalulis interchange as well, with delays also on the R24 West. If you are on the M1 South, there has been an accident at Empire Road, and it is causing slight delays from Oxford Road. Also, if you're in Midrand, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 North, with delays backing up from the Butlu interchange. Also, look out for faulty traffic lights in Midrand at Olifantsfontein and Old Pretoria, in Woodmead at Woodmead and Woodlands, as well as in the capital city in Pretoria CBD at Eskembahlele and Blood Street. I'll have more updates at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. So with the long weekend coming, many of you are going to be hosting people, family, friends. You've got plans. People are going to be coming around. Whatever you've planned to do, it will not turn out exactly the way you plan, but hopefully it'll turn out well all the same. I have something of a love-hate relationship with hosting things, because I do find that kind of hour before people arrive and then the first 30 minutes when they do arrive, I'm not at my absolute best, particularly when you say to people, have a seat, and they don't, and they hover, and you offer them a drink and they kind of can't decide what they want and they continue to hover. Be that as it may, overall I love hosting. But what do you love about having people coming around to your house for food, drinks, or whatever it might be? And what do you hate about it? And it is, by the way, possible to feel both emotions. I would suggest further that if you don't feel both emotions, at least at some point, then, that's pretty odd to me. But some people maybe just love it. How about you, Tholakele? I mean, I know that you're not necessarily always, from what you've told us before, the host in your own home, but you are involved as a host, from what I can gather, quite often. Love, hate? If so, which?
A little bit of both. I don't like not knowing if people are having fun.
Yes.
Because I can do all of these things, but deep inside, people could be going, not this thing. So that's like the thing that annoys me about hosting. But the fact that everybody's like together in one place, like when everybody gets along, and I'm like, oh, this person that knows me because I really like this one thing, and then this other person has known me for 10 years.
Yes.
And then they meet for the first time, and then everybody gels, and I'm like, The multi parts of all my personalities are together in one room. That's my favorite thing about it.
So those are two very important and wonderful things. I mean, obviously, the wonderful thing is what you've just spoken about. Many people will connect with it. But when do you stop worrying if people are having fun or not? Do you stop worrying?
No, I was about to say when they leave. Even when they leave and like no one sends me a text to be like, hey, had a fun time. I'd be sitting on my couch going, did anyone have a fun time? Like, why is no one telling me what's happening? So it never stops.
And what's the expiry date on a particular event? I mean, obviously the next day, but do you worry about it?
24 hours.
24
Yes.
hours. You're in shape. I mean, it's 24 hours, but it's not a whole week or anything like that. Khumotso, hosting, do you do it? Do you like it? Anything you hate?
Hardly do it, but I do love the fact that I get to escape certain chores. So the more people there are, which means the less chores for me. So there's some community, we get to share, washing the dishes. I get to be off the roster a little bit for the week, which I really love. What I do not like is having to give up my bed, one. And two is when people say they're going to leave on Sunday, then suddenly change their minds and say, actually, is it okay if I leave on Monday? No.
Oh my goodness. I was like thinking lunches, brides, dinner parties. You talking about people who move in.
Basically.
Okay. I mean, you do know that if people come for lunch, you don't have to give them your bedroom. You just have to give them something to eat.
Maybe I'm too kind, John, but now I know.
Okay, so tell us, hosting guys and gals, if there are things you love about us, tell us what they are. But if there are things that you actually really, really don't like and maybe even hate, I'd like to know those as well. And all of that, certainly in my case, can happen in the space of the same hour. I can be extremely happy at the one end of it, but thinking, oh man, I'm still not used to this. Yeah, give us your stories, please, on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. Still to come on the show, we're going to be talking to an organization called the Joberg Crisis Alliance. Eunice Chamda is the program coordinator, and at the center of the conversation is going to be that old thorny problem of the Joberg Metro Center, which had fires, which was then abandoned as a place where the Joberg Metro does its business. We've spoken before about the other rentals that they took on as a result of that. We've spoken before about the studies that were done on the safety of being able to operate in that building or not. And we've also spoken before, but it's come up again, about the city's plans that are actually in this, to all intents and purposes, abandoned building. The Joberg Crisis Alliance has got major concerns around that, prompted by a video about the state of the building produced by DA mayoral candidate Helen Ziller, which has really brought this onto the public debating platform again. Eunice Chamda is with us at about 5:10.
John Perlman
On 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
At this time on a Thursday, we do this regularly on 702 Drive. We do something that we call Your House, Your Home. And we look at it in various ways, focus on the place where you live. Sometimes we look at decorating tips, DIY, home improvement. Sometimes we look at the perils, pitfalls, and opportunities of renting, buying, selling, and all of those transactional things. Today, we're going to focus on the law, in particular, a High Court ruling that deals with a matter that concerns body corporates. Now, we've spoken before about what you do when people don't pay their levies. It is a maddening thing. As anyone who's lived collectively will testify, it can seriously undermine relationships and neighborliness, where people feel that we're all paying, but somebody else isn't. However, a very interesting case has come up in the Joburg High Court. It involved 18,000 Rand in unpaid levies, but the judge in the matter was very exercised by how much it was actually costing to recover this money. In this instance, the recovery costs far exceeded the money that was owed. So what do we take from this High Court judgment, particularly in terms of potential precedent going forward? For this, we're joined, as we often are, on these kinds of subjects by Marina Konstas, who is a director at BBM Law. Marina, very good afternoon to you, and thanks so much for giving us your time on this. First of all, just to set the scene, if you will, what did the judge say? And then we can look at implications based on a clear knowledge of what the, how the judge actually expressed him or herself.
Well, firstly, thanks very much for having me, John. Much appreciated. We go to the Johannesburg High Court, where in April of this year, we have a body corporate called the Centenario Body Corporate, who was suing a levy defaulter for an amount of 18,000 Rand. But a large portion of that 18,000 Rand was made up of legal costs. So what happened was, the debtor actually ignored the summons. So when the debtor ignores the summons, then the attorneys can apply for a default judgment. Just to set the scene for you, in the High Court, you don't ordinarily take these kind of amounts to our High Court. So that would have annoyed the judge in the first place, with such a small amount going to the High Court, because they do see it as a waste of their time. But secondly, I think at the end of the day, they sort of stepped in and intervened, which they don't usually do. They would have granted a default judgment usually in the absence of the debtor. But this judge saw fit to kind of interrogate the papers, and on interrogation of the papers, he saw that legal costs were really high, excessive, and what he called unreasonable under these particular circumstances. So he then decided that he was not going to give the default judgment, which is somewhat unusual. But I suppose we must remember, John, as well, that there are thousands of these cases in our courts every day. I mean, arrear levies have probably tripled in the last couple of years. Owners are simply not able to, or sometimes dodge paying their levies, rather paying their bonds. So judges are faced with this kind of thing all the time, and it's a bit of an aberration here with the amount of legal fees that was charged. I mean, usually the attorneys are set by tariff, and they stick to that tariff plus a certain percentage.
I mean, what's interesting for me is, my understanding was that in the Joburg High Court, and this was from the senior judge in Gauteng South, saying that actually you guys have got to try and sort things out before we even look at these matters. I mean, someone might turn around to the judge and say, well, you can be unhappy, but why was it on your roll in the first place?
Yes, I suppose that is true. And, I think attorneys need to be a bit careful in terms of where they bring the matters to. And I think he was probably rightly pretty annoyed. I mean, for example, our firm won't take anything to the High Court that is sort of less than 50,000 Rand, in terms of any kind of arrear levies, or we do disconnection application orders, those kind of big things going to the High Court. But also the other thing that came out of this was the judge said that an acknowledgement of debt doesn't also legitimize excessive or unlawful charges. So that was something else that came out of it. And for me, one of the most important things was that he said trustees remain accountable. So you can't just hand over a matter to lawyers and expect the whole thing to run.
Wow.
The trustees need to be advised and informed and reported to by the attorneys, and they remain in charge of a matter. So it's not a way, things they can fob things off to attorneys at any time.
I mean, it is a bit of a rock and a hard place, though, because, I mean, I've had direct experience of people not paying their levies, and apart from the financial strain it creates in a building, I think it really undermines relationships as well, where, people want to know, well, why is that person not paying? So I get the sense of urgency and frustration. On the other hand, going forward, is this going to put a damper on people saying, well, we can't deal with this anymore, we're going to court? I mean, might people start saying, well, actually, we'd like to, but we can't?
Look, I think personally, the one headline on this particular case was good news for homeowners or owners, that owe levies. No, it's definitely not good news. At the end of the day, attorneys around the country are taking these matters to court every single day and are getting results in terms of payments. That's for sure, especially, when the sheriff's knocking on your door and you need to, they want to attach certain things to pay for the levy amount. So at the end of the day, you cannot you can't owe levies. I mean, otherwise people are subsidizing you, all the owners that are paying. So there's every right, the trustees have every right and must actually have a duty to take these matters either to court or to the Community Scheme Ombuds Service. And as long as they are following that or understanding that the attorneys must be charging reasonable costs. And that's a bit of homework. You've got to do your homework on that. Look around, see what's reasonable, what's unreasonable, so that the trustees are actually protecting the body corporate. But certainly trustees can't, get out of that responsibility of taking recalcitrant debtors on.
Thanks so much. Marina Constas, Director of BBM Law. Maybe you've had experience in a collective living arrangement, be it a complex or a block of flats, where people haven't paid levies. I mean, what was your experience about that? For me, it's always been a sense of this being very, very corrosive of neighborly relationships. But, perhaps I'm taking it too seriously and taking it too personally. You may have a different view, or you may want to just simply tell your story. 072 702 1702.
In the last 24 hours, what happened in your world?
Defense attorney Sinentantla Mnguni has again denied claims that Tobias Matonodze is taking the blame for the son of Zimbabwe's late former president Robert Mugabe. Mnguni, who represents both Bellarmine Mugabe and Matonodze, spoke to journalists outside the Alexandra Magistrates Court today, saying he was pleased with the outcome of the case. Mugabe was deported this afternoon after the case, which involved the shooting of an employee at the Mugabe residence in Hyde Park in February. Matonodze will serve an effective 3-year prison sentence after he pleaded guilty to the more serious charges, including attempted murder, while Mugabe admitted to lesser offences.
Both accused knew what charges they were facing and they pleaded accordingly in relation thereto.
24 hours a day. Eyewitness News. In touch, in tune, and independent.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's a home for dream creators, operators and change makers. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi Majozi to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Jozi Majozi Walk the Talk. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Joburg CBD, and we want you to join us and be a part of something that will be truly special. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi Majozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babize bonke. More on primemediaplus.com.
Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Changan Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising really from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more. The Changan Uni S.
Changan. Driven to evolve.
This is EWN.
Political parties intensify election prep, and President Lungu's family accuses government of stealing his dignity. Good afternoon, I'm Zingisa Chirwa. Political parties are intensifying preparations for the upcoming local government election following the announcement of the official date for the polls. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced today that this year's municipal elections will be held on Wednesday, the 4th of November. Parties now only have 5 months to finalize the election campaigns, with predictions that more municipalities will likely fall under coalition governments. Action SA National Chairperson Michael Beaumont has encouraged South Africans to participate in the elections.
Action SA welcomes the announcement of the local government elections for the 4th of November this year as a date that couldn't come soon enough. The South African people are living in broken municipalities without basic services. because political parties that they have trusted for decades have let them down. And now is the time that they need to do something different.
Rise Mzansi national organizer Magashule Ghana has echoed the sentiment.
We see this as a critical opportunity to reset the state of governance in municipalities. We all know that municipalities and local government is the engine room of South Africa. When municipalities are working, South Africa will work.
Former TRC Commissioner Advocate Dumisani Ntsebeza says it's strange that former Presidents Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki are opposing their appearance before the TRC's cases inquiry with Judge Sisi Kampepe as chair. Zuma and Mbeki have now approached the Constitutional Court to have Kampepe removed as chair. They accuse her of bias, claiming she failed to disclose any role she played in the TRC-related prosecution decisions during her time as deputy head of the MPA in the late 90s. Secondly, that she played a part in the TRC Amnesty Committee. Their legal bid to have her removed was dismissed by the Johannesburg High Court last month after Kampepe declined to recuse herself. Dimakatso Leshuru reports.
The former presidents were instructed to file their responses to allegations made against them at the commission. They have instead approached the Constitutional Court for direct access to remove Kampepe. In response to their application, the commission says this is an abuse of court process intended to delay their appearance at the commission. The application is also being opposed by the Galata Group, which includes 25 families. Ntsebeza, who concluded his testimony at the inquiry today, says the process presents an opportunity to uncover the truth behind the years of delays in prosecuting apartheid-era crimes.
I wouldn't like to prejudge what the courts should say or do, but it's very strange that they want the Kampepe Commission to be interdicted.
It is now up to the Apex Court to provide clarity on the matter. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
Tshwane's suspended director for the Asset Protection Security Unit, Chukudu Malachi, has been challenged over his denial that he delegated his authority for deployment of private security guards to a junior employee. This is despite email evidence showing otherwise. Malachi has been testifying before the Madlanga Commission today over his role in a security tender which ballooned millions over budget. Thabiso Koba reports.
The tender in question relates to the guarding of the municipality's critical infrastructure sites. Evidence before the commission shows one security company, Gubis 85 Solutions, received a lot of ad hoc security work, resulting in it invoicing the municipality millions of rands. When Tshwane's suspended director for the Assets Protection Security Unit, Chukudu Malachi, appeared before the Madlanga Commission earlier this month, he testified it was his subordinate, Inspector Lebogang Phiri, who deployed Gubis 85 security guards without his permission. However, emails before the commission show Malachi instructed Phiri to do so.
You authorized the deployment, and arising from this email, Mr. Phiri issued letters of deployment to these sites. So for you to sit there and say, I did not authorize this, is simply false.
Malachi has wrapped up his testimony and will return at a later date for re-examination by his own lawyers. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
And the family of former Zambian President Edgar Lungu have accused the country's government of stealing his dignity by conducting a post-mortem of him without the family's knowledge or consent. The matter of Lungu's remains returned to the High Court today, where the government was seeking an order to have his remains taken to a mortuary of its choice in preparation for repatriation. This followed a move by government to take Lungu's remains from his family's mortuary, which was subsequently challenged by the family in court and resulted in the remains being returned to the family. There is currently a High Court order that the former statesman should be laid to rest in Zambia, but the family is challenging this in the Supreme Court. In your financials, gold is trading at $4,619.58 an ounce. The rand is 16.72 to the dollar, 22.66 to the pound, and 19.59 to the euro. Brent crude oil is $114.36 a barrel.
In the traffic in Centurion Waterkloof, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 North from the Flying Saucer interchange. And if you're leaving Sandton, there's still some pressure on Greyston Drive and Catherine Street as you get closer to the M1.
In your sport, Vitor Pereira demands Nottingham Forest make history in the Europa League semi-final showdown against Aston Villa. Durban City and TS Galaxy look ahead to Saturday's Nedbank Cup final. And American heavyweights throw their support behind Jim Furyk following his Ryder Cup captaincy appointment.
Gauteng's cloudy tomorrow with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 11 degrees, peaking at 18. Pretoria 12 and 20. Vereeniging 11 and 20 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Political parties are intensifying preparations for the upcoming local government election following the announcement of the official date for the polls.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 5, 26 July. Please put it in your diary. We're all going walking together through the center of Johannesburg. It's a Sunday. It is the 702 Jozi, my Jozi Walk the Talk, the start and finish at Ellis Park. We've made all sorts of arrangements to get you there. The Gautrain is involved as a partner. PRASA is involved to provide trains to get you to Ellis Park. We've got great commercial partners. All that we are missing is you. primemediaplus.com. Go there, check it out, and start getting in touch with your friends. Please, come in a group. Maybe you can come on previous walk the talks, by the way. People have come often as groups from the same workplace. So get the conversation going that saw you walking with us in Pretoria over the last couple of years. This year we're in Joberg, and we're looking forward to it a lot, in particular meeting all of you face to face. Speaking of Johannesburg, the Johannesburg Crisis Alliance is, alongside the Johannesburg Heritage Foundation, engaging with the city over a key aspect of the derelict and dilapidated state of the Joberg Metro. It's been a huge problem for years. Some of the issues raised is the large amounts of money spent on rent to actually accommodate staffers, but what has been left in the building in what sound like less than optimum and possibly dire conditions are valuable, irreplaceable records of the city. All the plans, some of them have a current need, obviously, if people are wanting to extend buildings, put up new buildings and so on. Those records are critical for ongoing activity and commerce, but also there are historical records as well, dating all the way back to the 1880s, which are a crucial part of any city's history and a vital part of ours. So Eunice Chamdo is with the Joburg Crisis Alliance, where he is coordinator. We'll have him on in the moment to talk about that. And then I raised a story earlier and said that there was things we needed to know. There's been an announcement made by Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, the 20 football fans, but also 20 people from the cultural space, singers and dancers, will be taken by government, although he says they're private backers for some of the costs, will be taken by government to the 2026 Football World Cup in North America. A number of people have been saying, well, why are you taking musicians? What is all that about? I had to say that I do not know. I'm not sure what they're going there to do. One of the groups mentioned is Mikasa. Jay Something from Mikasa has agreed to come on the show at 20 past 5. We have put in requests to the department and to the ministry saying, well, we'd like to hear your side of the story. No response so far, but we certainly appreciate Jay Something willing to come on and shed some light. 11 minutes past 5.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hantate John, levies are a pain in my side. I pay Trafalgar 3.2 a month in levies, which I don't understand because it's a rental property and I only charge 7.8 for the rental, and the bond is 4.2. But I pay 3.2 for levies. Does that even make sense? They don't even clean up. And my unit, that rental unit, is just by the gate, and they put the trash right in front of my unit. When I ask them to move it, they make all sorts of excuses. The wall is broken, and my unit happens to be right by the wall, so meaning security is compromised. And they are doing absolutely nothing about it. Trafalgar is useless. So I do understand people who don't pay levies, because how does that make sense? Make it make sense.
Well, I suppose I could say straight back at you. And by the way, those things you've described are horrible, and I understand your frustration. But to say, well, then don't pay your levies. I mean, you have opted for collective living. So you could say, well, in the bilateral relationship between you and the managing agents, in this instance, you say Trafalgar, there is a dispute going on, but I'm not sure why all of your neighbors and everyone else in the block or complex should, have to suffer the consequences of your unhappiness, because they do. Everybody who withholds levies makes it more and more difficult to sustain and maintain a building. And I'm not unsympathetic at all to the things that you're frustrated about, but I would just urge you to engage firstly with your body corporate, but also engage with your neighbors. Find out if they share the same view, and then collectively in some way see if you can get a successful engagement with the managing agent. But individual levy boycotts, I think, are very, very hard on everybody else who's paying. My view, let's get other views, please, on 072 7021 702, 14 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the very latest traffic news. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Kumotso Munyai is helping everybody get home safely and quickly, if possible, in anticipation of a great long weekend. How are we doing?
Thank you, John. We'll start in Centurion. In Waterkloof, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 North. This is from the Flying Saucer interchange. And over in Calvin, you can expect slow-moving traffic as well on the N3 South from Malbo Drive. This is through to the Kalulis interchange and all the way down to the Geldernes interchange. If you are on the M1 South, traffic is also at a crawl there. This is from Oxford Road to the Crown interchange. And in Soweto, in Protea Glen, there's slow-moving traffic as well on the N12. This is towards the R558. In Pretoria and Hermanstad, expect delays on Eskamphahlela Drive between Moot Street and Vomhagen. Likewise, if you come across any other traffic on your side, it doesn't look so bad, but you can still send me that voice note on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Sitting in a traffic jam is as fun as hearing your boss say, quick follow-up meeting at 4:45 on a Friday. Not fun. But fortunately, the Outsurance pointsmen are on the roads, easing traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be, quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using hashtag #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Let's focus our attention now on the Joberg Metro Center. We've spoken about it before. Questions as to whether the building is as unsafe as those people who executed and justified everybody leaving there and rentals being paid in other buildings in the city. The other issue very much front and center, this following the release of a video by DA mayoral candidate Helen Ziller, who did her own inspection of the facility, is the state of the Johannesburg Plans Archive. Now, one of the organizations that's been engaging with the city alongside the Joberg Heritage Foundation, who we've had on the show before, is an organization called Joburg Crisis Alliance, and the coordinator of the JCA, Eunice Chamda, joins us now on 702 Drive. Mr. Chamda, welcome and thanks very much for your time. Why is the Plans Archive of such importance? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you and to the listeners. Well, the Plans Archives holds valuable records of the city. And the more we've delved into this crisis around the records that have been kept in that building, the more we realize the inconvenience to residents, and we realize the huge risks that are now confronting the city with regard to those very, very valuable and important documents that are sitting in those archives.
So that,
when you listen,
sorry,
yes, go ahead.
No, please continue. I thought you'd finished. Continue the thought.
Well, the thought was that, the more we talk to residents, the more we realize the inconvenience, difficulties, and even the financial strain that is being put on residents. For example, if you can't get a copy of your plan from the city, you have to redraw the plan. I was amazed to learn what the cost is of having to redraw plans from a physical inspection of a building. And many residents are now having to do that.
I want to ask you to talk a little bit about the demands that you and the JHF have put to the city. Some of them deal with the archive and its relocation, but you're also raising questions about the entire premise that the Metro Center is unsafe for occupation. And what you're asking for is sharing of the 3 reports that were used to determine that this was indeed the case. There are 3 are the Structural Engineers Report, the Emergency Management Services Risk Assessment, and the Compliance Inspection done by the Department of Employment and Labour. Why are you asking for these reports, and perhaps your insight as to why these haven't been given anyway? Because I would have thought those are documents of important public record and accountability.
You're absolutely correct, and it doesn't make any sense that these reports should not be made publicly available. If those reports were the basis on which the Metro Center was abandoned or evacuated, and
yes,
surely we should have access to those reports so that we can understand what the logic was behind that decision. Now, in the absence of those records, we are left guessing as to exactly what the reasons were for abandoning the Metro Center.
One of the things that really does bewilder me about all of this, because there's obviously the historical importance of the Plans Archive, but the other thing that is absolutely striking is if there is vibrant commerce in the city of any kind, whether it's putting up a new building, creates jobs, adds to the revenue and rateable base, if people sell property, government sell and buy property, government benefits from all of that. All of that is made more difficult, and in some instances, it seems from what you're saying, is virtually paralyzed. I mean, have you engaged with the city and asked them whether they actually recognize that this is undermining their own fiscal base?
Well, we've raised the overall concern about the center and the many difficulties that it causes. And what you've raised now is obviously one of the critical issues around the functionality of the city, the functioning of the city in relation to its economic development, etc. And, it is striking that the city now has just released a statement a couple of days ago, and it's a statement that was released by the MMC for Economic Development, who now acknowledges, and, in her own words, she says that, accountability and professionalism in the management of public assets remain non-negotiable. That's the words of the MMC. And for once, we agree with her, and therefore we are now going to hold her accountable to exactly what she has said.
I mean, it seems in that statement, and I'm glancing at this, that there's an absolute recognition that this Plans Archive is now at significant physical risk.
Yes, it is. And just to indicate that, we flagged this very, very early on. From our early summits from 2024 onwards, we had residents asking questions about the Metro Center. And I wrote to the city on the 19th of June 2025 when the first sort of photographs started leaking of what the condition of the records were. And since then, we've had no satisfactory response. What we also asked for when we wrote to the city manager recently was to allow us some access so that we can do an on-site inspection with experts who are part of the team that we are working with the Joberg Heritage Foundation. In that respect, I'm referring to people from the Gauteng Institute for Architects. So these are experts, and we would have really liked these experts to get a tour of the building and to make an assessment of the level of risk to the archives. But unfortunately, we were not granted that access. And as you mentioned, we've had a glimpse into what's happening in that building through the video posting that we saw recently.
Thanks very much, Eunice Chamda, Joburg Crisis Alliance Coordinator. I cannot help but conclude all of this is being made much, much, much more difficult by a high degree of defensiveness. If those three reports absolutely and unconditionally justify the decision to vacate the Joberg Metro Center and take the steps that the city of Joburg took at whatever cost it might have cost, then release them. Say, look, hey, we've got these reports that make it absolutely clear that we were completely correct in the decision we took. I mean, people have now resorted to a promotion of access to Information Act application. I mean, that shouldn't be necessary. That, by the way, costs people money to get basic accountability and transparency out of the people who run the economic hub of South Africa. Doesn't sound good enough to me. Give me your thoughts. 24 minutes past 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Let's turn our attention now to South Africa's participation in the World Cup and indeed other things going on around that. Now, we understand that the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture is going to be making it possible. The extent to which public money is being committed, I'm not entirely clear on. We hear that there will be private sponsorship of this. They're going to be sending football fans, and people will earn that role of football fans via a competitive process. Singers and dancers and some other people will be going to the games as well. At the moment, South Africa play in 3 confirmed matches. Of course, when our group comes second in our group or finishes one of the best third-place teams, and the show goes on, and we're all hoping Bafana will achieve that. But let's hear, before I welcome our next guest, what the Minister of this department, Gayton McKenzie, said earlier this week.
2 of the X will be taken to the World Cup amongst the 20. Will be Mafiki Zolo and Mikasa. In 2026, Mikasa marks 30 years in the industry. 30 years of a sound-defined South African pop of songs played at weddings and funerals and everything in between, of a brand that carried this country's music deep into the rest of the continent. In 2026, Mikasa marks 15 years. 15 years of Jay Something, Dr. Duza and Moti writing and performing songs that move different continents onto the same dance floor. When we take Mafiki Zola and Mikasa to the Americas, we are not taking background music.
Okay, so that was what the minister said, an excerpt from that. We've tried to engage with the ministry to find out exactly what the musicians and dancers will be doing in the US. They haven't responded to our requests, but we're delighted to welcome to the show Jay Something from Mikasa to help us understand this better. Jay Something, thank you and congratulations on a 15th anniversary. Time flies, eh? But I wondered if you could share with us, I mean, what has the ministry conveyed to you as the plan, the program for the time you spend in the US? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's quite an interesting angle that you are viewing it from, and that I guess you're trying to drive the communication from. And I don't think that I'm the best expert in understanding political decisions, but I think the idea behind everything is that we go there and we represent what this country is about. And I think that one of those expressions at the World Cup, which is the obvious one, is to showcase who we are through football. I think that on these world stages, and I think everybody knows how big the FIFA World Cup stage is, I think the idea is that every country is on display to a certain degree. And I think without getting too far away from what it is that I believe I'm there to do, I believe that we are there to showcase the sound, and I think ultimately the culture and the energy of a nation that is worthy of people's attention. And I hope that from a music perspective, you can add sound, because we believe music has power.
So, I mean, I'm looking at the South African schedule. First game in Mexico City, on to Atlanta for a game against Czechia, then back to Mexico to this town of Monterrey. If we progress further on the potential schedule is Mexico City, either Mexico City, LA or Seattle. So just a practical question. Are you guys going to be performing? I mean, is the ministry set up venues? Are there plans for, because I get that the music is a crucial part of our identity, but will you actually be performing that music, you and Mafikizolo?
Yes. In actual fact, if you remember in 2010 when we hosted the World Cup, there were stages that were popped up all over the country, and these stages were used to use music as a way to kind of connect people with. So from what we've been told, there is one specific opportunity that's been presented to Mikasa, which is that they select an act that represents a country, and they've got a stage, and there's essentially a concert that celebrates the music of these countries that are participating at the World Cup. And we are the ones that get chosen to be on that stage and to showcase our story, Mafikizolo as well as us. So I guess that is what I know about the one big moment. And then there's additional moments alongside it where there are other stages that are opportunities. But the one that I know is the one that the minister spoke to us about, which is the one I'm sharing with you now.
So it would sound like the full program, the duration of your travel, the opportunities, but also obligations, because there would be that you guys actually perform. Not that it's an obligation, but it's a responsibility. Let me call it that. The full program has not been outlined yet, but you know that there would be a stage. Would that be in Mexico City, or is that not yet clear?
I believe so. The discussion that I was a part of, there was a mention of Mexico, which is where they're kicking things off. So, yeah, that's exciting.
Jay Something, thank you. Joining us from Mikasa. We will continue in our efforts to get the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. And the reason we're having this conversation, because a lot of people have responded in social media, but other forums as well, asking, to read just one comment from Ivan Sambo, who's posted on X, I think it is. Yeah, X. Why are artists taken to the FIFA World Cup when we have a large number of young sports journalists, content creators in South Africa who can go cover the World Cup and give valuable content and information to South Africa? There may be a plan that makes a whole lot of sense, but we haven't seen the details of that plan. And as I say, we can't at the moment get the ministry to come on and talk to us. 702 Drive, 29 past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a better day in terms of JSE numbers, but a whole lot of dark clouds of them. Hello, darkness, my old friend, and all that.
Indeed, I think that sums it up, John. I mean, oil prices last night over $120. They suddenly came back quite sharply to around 110 or so now. But I think the long-term sort of trajectory is looking now suddenly, unless something changes dramatically, looking like this is where we may end up. That said, though, the JSE being a lot more optimistic, up 1.15%, 115,181 points. Gold and platinum much higher today, and that's pushed those shares up. Financials are up 0.14, industrials up 0.55, resources up 2.61% on the day. And we see it across the board. Exxaro obviously have some exposure to energy. They're up 5%. Sirius up 5, Implats up 4.57, Harmony up nearly 4, and so it goes on. Even Omnia, the logistics and mining group, they're up 3%. PHP is also up 5.67. Some financial shares down on the day. Capitex down 2%, Discovery down 1.5%, Santam down 1.5%, 2%, and we see as well Optasia actually down 1.57% on the day. While one or two consumer groups also, Truworths is down 1.5%, We Buy Cars is down 1.2% on the day. Telkom down a little bit as well, which is interesting because MTN said today their operations in Nigeria have seen data usage up by 50% in the first quarter of the year. Their profits there are up by 166%, and that'll have a big impact on MTN's bottom line. And Glencore saying they are They do believe higher coal and energy prices might help it to increase margins. They're also confident they'll sort of weather the fuel price storm, but their copper production was up 19% in the 3 months to the end of March. They basically concentrated on that because of a ban on the export of cobalt from the DRC. In the US, things sort of not as down as you would expect considering oil prices yesterday. This is really because of quite strong earnings in the US. The Dow Jones is up 1%. The Nasdaq is up 0.19. The S&P 500 is up 0.43. And then the gold price at the moment, $4,617.20. Platinum, $1,962.20. Brent crude, $110.17 a barrel. The rand to the dollar, 16.70. To the euro, 19.59. To the British pound, 22.68. On the Money Show tonight, the latest on this decision about the city of Cape Town and how they have been trying to increase tariffs based on your property value. We'll speak to Professor Francois Voruli, and also if a council can't get enough money through revenue in that way, what other options are there? Which I think is a really interesting discussion. There's so much to talk about there. We'll be talking too about the amount of money you're being paid, how your salary is going up. We'll talk to the Tourism Minister, Patricia de Lille, about the increase in tourism figures. I get an understanding of the Joberg CBD at the moment and an investment school tonight, how to minimize the amount of fees that you pay, how all of that works. Stephen Crotis, EWN Business.
The rich mix of the Money Show between 6 and 8. Stay tuned for that. But right now, let's give you the very, very latest news. Zingi Sachirwa is here to update us. Good afternoon again.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Tshwane's suspended director for the Asset Protection Security Unit, Chukudu Malachi, has been challenged over his denial that he delegated his authority for deployment of private security guards to a junior employee. This is despite email evidence showing otherwise. Malachi has been testifying before the Madlanga Commission today over his role in a security tender which ballooned millions over budget. Thabiso Goba reports.
The tender in question relates to the guarding of the municipality's critical infrastructure sites. Evidence before the commission shows one security company, Gubis 85 Solutions, received a lot of ad hoc security work, resulting in it invoicing the municipality millions of rands. When Tshwane's suspended director for the Asset Protection Security Unit, Chukudu Malachi, appeared before the Madlanga Commission earlier this month, he testified it was his subordinate, Inspector Lebogang Phiri, who deployed Gubis 85 security guards without his permission. However, emails before the commission show Malachi instructed Phiri to do so.
You authorized the deployment, and arising from this email, Mr. Phiri issued letters of deployment to these sites. So for you to sit there and say, I did not authorize this, is simply false.
Malachi has wrapped up his testimony and will return at a later date for re-examination by his own lawyers. Thabiso Goba, Eyewitness News.
For live updates on the Commission, visit ewn.co.za or watch live proceedings on our YouTube channel. Social Development Minister Sisisi Tolashe says reports of recent controversies involving her are part of a misinformation campaign spearheaded by the department's disgruntled former spokesperson, Lumka Olifant. Following her appearance in Parliament yesterday to present the annual performance plan of her department, it has today issued a statement saying the allegations against Tolashe are baseless and part of a broader effort to discredit her. In a leaked audio recording of a study group meeting of ANC MPs ahead of yesterday's parliamentary meeting, Tolashe can be heard saying she won't answer any questions that are not directly related to her ministerial responsibilities. Lindsay Datninger reports.
As claims of impropriety mount against Minister Sisisi Tolashe, including that she redirected a donation of vehicles intended for the ANC Women's League to her family and may have used public funds to employ a nanny for her grandchildren, the Department of Social Development is hitting back. It says former spokesperson Lumka Olifant, who was dismissed last year, is making unsubstantiated claims against Tolashe. But Olifant says she's not fazed by the accusations and that Tolashe is trying to deflect several maladministration issues in her ministry, including irregular appointments.
I should be arrested like she should be arrested as we're talking now. Therefore, the minister must not please divert the questions that she needs to give to the president.
The department's acting communications head, Sandy Gotwana, says since assuming office, Tolashe has been taking decisive steps to clean up irregularities, enforce accountability and restore integrity within the department. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And the South African Social Security Agency says it plans to expand its security features beyond fingerprint and facial recognition systems. Last September, the agency introduced a mandatory biometric system at all offices nationwide to combat fraud and verify the authenticity of recipients. The move followed significant challenges with SASSA payments, including widespread fraud, identity theft and technical glitches. SASSA's executive manager for grant administration, Brenton van Vrede, says the agency is now looking to incorporate voice recognition as part of its efforts to modernize its systems.
Because what we want to do is create a trust center where we capture all your biometrics, noting there is no organization that has every single biometric of every single person, so that still has to be built. Home Affairs remains our foundational database for fingerprints and facials. So Home Affairs will ultimately, once everyone has replaced their green cards and get the smart ID, then becomes the authoritative source on face and fingerprints.
And in your weather, Gauteng's cloudy tomorrow, temperatures dropping to lows of between 11 and 12 degrees and rising to highs of between 18 and 20.
In the traffic, look out for faulty traffic lights in Kyalami at the R55 in Maine, as well as the R55 in Kenilworth. And in the capital city as well, traffic lights are out in Pretoria CBD at Eskempathlele Drive and Struben Road.
The top story in EWN, Tshwane's suspended director for the Asset Protection Security Unit, Chukudu Malachi, has been challenged over his denial that he delegated his authority for deployment of private security guards to a junior employee.
The Clement Manyatela Show on 702.
The Clement Manyatela Show is about everything. It's about current affairs, family matters, the work environment, your health and wellness, relationship and sex issues that couples face. It's about learning, helping each other, healing, teaching. It's about life in essence. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is that we are quite intentional about doing life together. We're always pulling through for each other, learning from each other, always teaching each other. We're not scared to disagree, but also we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. We just care about each other, and I think that is priceless.
The Clement Manyatela Show, weekdays from 9 to 12 p.m.
Celebrate our mothers on Sunday 10 May at Nyrox Sculpture Park in the splendor of the cradle of humankind. Wander through the sweeping landscapes, embrace contemporary sculpture, taste premium Cape wines and savor gourmet cuisine, all to the sounds of some of South Africa's finest performing artists. Nyrox is delighted to welcome Lyra back to their stage, as well as Steve Dyer's band alongside a 20-piece choir. Limited tickets are available from nyroxarts.com. Nyrox is a private not-for-profit foundation to benefit the arts. All income is used to maintain the grounds, the artist residency program, and artist support.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Changan Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising really from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more. The Changan Uni S.
Changan. Driven to evolve.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
The worst part for me about hosting is the period before. I'm very stressed and anxious. Everyone knows it, or those close to me. And when we host, it's usually for people close to us. So even then, I'm stressed. And then the other part it is when the guests just arrive and they're not yet fully settled in, and you have to make small talk and prepare the snacks and drinks, and they're sitting alone. And the part I love is when we're all relaxed and having a good time. And usually at the end of every event, when we reflect, I always say, I can't believe I stressed that much, until the next event comes and then I stress again.
Yeah, listen, Nicole, you're very lucky. You say at least your guests are sitting down. I can't get them to sit down. They always hover. I don't know. Maybe they want to be close to the action. Maybe I should just have some potatoes and onions handy, even if we don't need them, for them to chop and peel. Yeah. The question we asked you, what do you love the most about hosting people? As many of you, I suspect, will be doing over the weekend. What is the stuff you hate? Let me share this with you from Nick. Very interesting indeed in regard to the Joberg, the Civic Center. And Nick says this: I was involved in the supply of concrete cladding products for the Civic Center on Bromfontein Ridge. Those who are trying to have this building demolished are trying a fast one. This building was built by the best available people. It made international headlines. Building was overseen by Over Arup and partners, now still trading internationally under the name Arup, employing 17,000 people worldwide. These people wanting to demolish and put up a new building are just preparing an opportunity to loot again. Nick sharing with us experience he says he had in actually being involved in the building when it was first put up. 702 Drive, still to come on the show at the end of the final hour of every episode of 702 Drive, apart from Fridays, where we do a song, a book, and a dish. We spend some time around a musical theme. This will give you a clue to what we're going to be talking about. Nope, not blues, not country. It is the best electronic dance music from the 90s. That's the song that Jonathan Fairbairn has chosen. He's just working on the moves that go with that. But he's going to be in to tell us why he picked this theme, why he picked this song. In the meanwhile, your best EDM from the 90s. Send it to us. We'll start rifling through our library and look and see if we can find not only mention your song, but actually play a bit as well. It's 16 minutes now to 6.
EWN Sport.
Tolakele, what's happening in the world of sport? Good afternoon to you one more time.
Afternoon, John. Well, Nottingham Forest will play a first European semi-final in 42 years when they take on Aston Villa in the UEFA Europa League tonight. Their run in this competition has come amid a relegation-threatened campaign in the Premier League and coaching turmoil, with Victor Pereira being their fourth manager of a chaotic campaign.
This is not about me. This is about the team, about the club. And tomorrow I will try to enjoy the game, of course, but to compete, to come in the game with the true spirit of a champion. And this is what we need to be, champions, looking to be the best version of ourselves, to have the support, to feel the support of our fans and to compete.
Villa have flourished since Unai Emery joined the club in 2022 and 2 years ago reached the semi-finals of the UEFA Conference League in their first taste of European competition for 13 years. However, the Spaniard is not focused on the past as they face a team who are unbeaten in 8 games in all competitions.
I expect to be a long match because they are performing really good. They are now playing confidence. The last 2 matches really amazing. They have won and scoring 4 goals and 5 goals in the matches they played. In Europe League, the way they are doing as well is being very, very competitive way. And how they played the last 2 rounds against Porto and against Milan, they compete fantastic.
The attention in the PSL on Saturday turns to the Nedbank Cup final, where Durban City will go up against TS Galaxy. Bernard Parker will take charge of the Rockets for that encounter as they look to win this trophy for the second time in their history. The former striker has been placed in interim charge of Galaxy. That's after owner Tim Sugazi confirmed the departure of Adnan Begovic as head coach last week.
Probably South Africa is yet to see the best of Bernard Parker insofar as his contribution to the game is concerned. That I can say without any further contradiction. Someone that I know, I've come a long way with during his playing days, and certainly now, TS Galaxy as a player and as a coach.
And Scotty Scheffler has highlighted Jim Furyk's organizational skills, experience and understanding of the Ryder Cup as a sign that he'll be a success after being named US captain. He's been tasked with helping the Americans win the trophy when they travel to take on Luke Donald's European team in 17 months. The USA last lifted the team trophy in 2021.
Jim and Tabitha both are really, I mean, they're great people. Jim is a really, really good leader. He's extremely organized in the way that he does things. And with Jim, you just have so much experience across so many team events, whether it's playing or being a captain. I mean, the guy's been on those teams seems like for forever. He had such a long career out here and was so good for a long time that he played on a bunch. And then he's such a great guy that he's been a captain and assistant captain on him as well. And so I think he just brings a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience to the table. And
Tholakile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 13 minutes to 6, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Traffic. Tell us. If it's bad, we need to know, but hopefully it's not too bad.
Thank you, John. We'll start in Midrand if you're headed in that direction. There's traffic pressure on the N1 North from the Batlu interchange, and it is due to a stationary vehicle that is affecting 2 lanes. So if you can, just exercise a bit of patience, especially just before Allendale Road. If you are on the M1 South, traffic remains sluggish from Oxford Road to the Crown interchange, while in Kelvin, you can expect slow-moving traffic on the N3 South from Modderfontein Road right through to the Geldenhuys interchange. In the opposite direction, there's been an accident on the N3 North at the Geldenhuys interchange with delays starting from Rand Airport Road. Also look out for faulty traffic lights in Rand Park Ridge at the M1 North in Beyers Naudé, in Lone Hill at Main and Lone Hill, as well as in the capital city at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein and Centurion. Likewise, if you come across any other traffic, you can also send us a tweet on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 51. Did I use too many emojis in that text? Did I sound too eager? Oh, the mental gymnastics. Well, with the Outsurance pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 Land is the fact that we have 702 landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Okay, let's do some music and hand you over to Jonathan Fairburn. Kabazela, you've had some real energy from the music theme today. This is clearly a big part of your life. You actually were talking about what? EDM, electronic
dance music.
Electronic dance music, and you reeled off a whole lot of titles, and I was nodding. But you know the way those dogs nod in the back of the car? I was nodding
in
like
the front of the car, yeah.
I had absolutely no idea of most of these things. Tell us very, very briefly what EDM is and why it's on your mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm no expert on EDM. I love the genre of music in the 90s, but I mean, it kind of has its roots from the 70s and 80s, and then from the 90s, it blew up very, very commercially and had a very different, unique sound, and even across, the US, the UK, and the greater Europe, there was different kinds of EDM that was coming out. For example, Europe was trance and Eurodance. In the UK, it was like a rave culture, jungle, drum and bass. And the US had like a house and techno. So there was various different kinds of EDM music. But it was a special era, that EDM music. If you can think of maybe one of the most popular ones that kind of started was Robert Miles' Children. That was a really, really a great song. But my first album that I ever got of EDM was a group called Culture Beat.
Okay.
And the album was called Serenity. And my favorite song on that album was Mr. Vain. And I'm not going to say it's the best EDM song I've ever heard. There's obviously, it evolved because this was early 90s. This was 93.
93. And
Yeah.
you were how old?
I would have been, 12?
Okay, so
Yeah.
you getting some moves early, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I used to play this in my bedroom and dance to it and enjoyed it so much. And when you hear it, or if you pick your favorite EDM song from back in the 90s, I'm sure it just transports you back to a very, very cool place. So let's go. Culture Beat, Mr. Vain.
Mr. Vain, Culture Beat. They were actually a German Eurodance band. Mr. Vain, Jono's selection for his favorite EDM music album, and that's his favorite track from his favorite album. So give us a call, please, or drop us a note on 072 702 1702. Quick response to Kabazella's choice. Kim says, loved Mr. Vain too. Thanks for the beat. Let's have your suggestions now on that same number, 072 702 1702.
Take a ride back to the greatest decades in music.
Because Saturdays on 702
Are all about timeless tunes.
Timeless Tunes. At 10 a.m.
Kenny Maestri sets the stage with the greatest hits of the 80s
and 90s. At 2 p.m.
Pushaza Sibia keeps the nostalgia flowing.
with more classics you can't help but sing along to.
Then at 5 p.m.
Richard Mwamba
Celebrates the sounds of the continent.
with This is Africa.
It's more than just music.
It's your Saturday,
wrapped in the sounds you love.
Only on 702.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. The heart of Mzansi.
It's Joburg.
In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi, and we're calling on you to walk through the city center with us.
Walk the talk.
In the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babise bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this walk.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Jozi. Babise bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. How about Groove is in the Heart by Delight?
We're going to dance. We're going to dance. We're going to dance and have some fun.
The chills that you spill up my back keep me filled with satisfaction when we're done. Satisfaction of what's to come. I couldn't ask for another. No, I couldn't ask for another. Your groove, I do deeply dig. No walls, only the bridge. My supper dish, my crocketesh wish. I couldn't ask for another.
Sounds of Delight there. That was a 1990 album, Groove is in the Heart. This one from AXS. Black Box. I think the Black Box were from Italy, just emphasizing. Were they from Italy? I'll have to check that. In the meanwhile, here's the song, Right on Time.
Gonna get up. Oh, gonna get up. And time won't take my love away.
Didn't Black Box come to South Africa? I seem to remember they did. Anyway, I like that song a lot. This one from Floyd, who says, my favorite EDM was by Technotronic, released in 1989. Not quite 1990, but close enough. Pump up the jam.
Pump up the jam, pump it up while your feet are stumping. And the jam is pumping. Look ahead, the crowd is jumping. Pump it up a little more, get the party going on the dance floor. See, cause that's where the party's at, and you find out if you do that.
Very quick story about this song. When we had the MTN 702 Small Business Awards, the winner was, as many of you know, Khonse Silao Tswe. And he created a jam company called All Day Jam. So to conclude the evening, we played Pump Up the Jam. From all of us at 702 Drive, have a great weekend. Good night.
Pump up the jam, pump it up while your feet are stumping. And the jam is pumping. Look ahead, the crowd are jumping. Pump it up a little more, get the party going on.
And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
and DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking, engineered for how Africa trades. That's how invested ABSA is in your story. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, Cape Town is sent back to the drawing board on municipal tariffs. Judges say they can't be tied to the value of your property. Why your salary is increasing slightly. And your financial pain is only going to get more intense. The Tourism Minister, Patricia de Lille's on your radio tonight. New figures show the number of tourists coming here is now consistently increasing. Also this evening, how TikTok and Instagram are pushing for long-form original content. And an investment school tonight, why you pay investment fees and how they hit you over the longer term.